You're listening to WHBJ Digital Talk from the 412. And good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to WHBJ Digital Talk. Special thanks to Madison Rising. Please go to madisonrising.com. They played the intro. Support the group. Great group. I'm Hutch Bailey Jr. in the WHBJ studios in Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania. Also a shout out to the Free Music Archive, freemusicarchive.org. We're getting ready to head over to the Sorgatron Media Studios in Beachview in the city of Pittsburgh. And check out Mike Sorg, John Chichilla, Kay Dutters. Who knows who else? Let's go there now. Let's go to Awesomecast, ladies and gentlemen, and then we will have a replay of last night's Cold War radio. Take it away, Mike.
This show is a member of the Sorgatron Media Podcast Network. Find out more at sorgatronmedia.com. This show is brought to you by Slice on Broadway, supporting Pittsburgh podcasting with the perfect pepperoni pizza, sliceonbroadway.com. And listeners like you, support this show at patreon.com/awesomecast.
Sidekick Media Services. We are your sidekick in business for social media, video production, and more. Find out more at sidekickmediaservices.com.
It's time to get awesome, get geeky. It is the Awesomecast. I'm Mike Sorg at Sorgatron on the Twitter here in the Sorgatron Media Studios in Pittsburgh, PA, the Beachview neighborhood where the train still rolls, just not 15 feet from where I sit right here. With me, we got in studio 2 weeks in a row. Whoa, it's John Chichilla at Chilla on the Twitter, the gadget guru over at Big Bank International Esquire.
How's it going? I can even see myself to the left of your head on the monitor.
Yes, framing. It is a light week. Producer Missy's with us as well. But we understand there's some sports puck ball going on tonight with the Dutters, so she is occupado. So
it's 80s night. I don't know.
It is 80s night. Bobby Cherry also is on assignment because somebody decided to make a speech tonight. So we're going to get him rescheduled here in the near future as well in the future here. So, and also off the top, I want to give a shout out to Steve and the folks over at Bold Sports Pittsburgh, Bold Pittsburgh Sports. I think I got the right order there. Had a great Super Bowl brunch with their friends from Fury Brewing here on Sunday. Please go check out the video over in Bold Pittsburgh with that, and of course that podcast going up shortly if it hasn't yet on the Sorgatron Media master feed. A lot of fun there that we had here the other day, and a lot of fun stuff coming this week. But we'll talk about that later. In the meantime, please check out everything at awesomecast.com. Hit us up at awesomecast at sorgatronmedia.com. Awesomecast on the tweeters, Facebook us Awesomecast group, where there's a lot of great discussion, and your stories make it into the show from over there, and we talk about it a lot during the week in technology and in video games and stuff. So thank you everybody that participates over there. Also, thank you to our streaming partners, riversedgepgh.com, Saturdays at 9 a.m., as well as the 405media.com that carries us every weekday at 9 a.m. Pacific time, noon Eastern time. And there might be some rumblings about some new streaming partners coming up here in the near future. Got a few messages this week, so hopefully we can announce those soon. Also, check us out every Tuesday live at the Awesomecast Facebook page at 7 p.m. Eastern. And unless Sorg's delay starting is a note here. Hey, we ran pretty close on that today. And also, thank you. Also, if you're interested in advertising or being in a studio audience to see a recording, see how we operate here. You know, some aspiring video and podcaster people that have been talking with us about wanting to drop in. You are welcome to, and you can arrange that with producer Missy at Awesomecast at sorgatronmedia.com. Also, thank you to our Patreon supporters at patreon.com/awesomecast. Thank you, everybody contributed. I know the Patreons came through. I know they're a little delayed this month. Things were a little weird with them across the board at Patreon, but I think, great platform for everything going on there. Thank you, our friends at the Coffee Club $5 level. Here's a little sip of coffee for you. Our friends Matt Weller and John Diggy DeGore, and our friends at the fan of the show and dollar level, Michael Fedor, that's been on there, I think the longest contributor over on Patreon. Thank you so much to all those guys. You can contribute to and help keep the lights on here in the studio, or replace lights as we've been doing lately in the studio at patreon.com/awesomecast. Chilla, are we all gaming tonight? Like, are we on the gaming vibe tonight from the looks of things?
Yeah, from the looks of it. Well, and
a lot of stories, a lot of news.
That's where the news is at right now.
That's right. So I want to go with let's go with yours first. What's going on in the gaming world for your awesome thing of the week?
So have you heard of Titanfall?
This is the one. It came out a few years ago on Xbox One. It was a first-person shooter, but you could always also get into a mech.
You could earn your way into a mech.
You can earn your way into a mech. You played a little bit of this, right?
Yes, I was a huge fan of the Titanfall, and there was a Titanfall 2. I got that. That studio from EA has brought in Apex Legends, which following in the Fortnite footsteps of Battle Royale. Mm-hmm. They released their game yesterday for free. It's kind of, to me, like a mashup between Fortnite and we're going to drop you into a map kind of perspective. But it also, to me, also has kind of the Overwatch feel, where I think there's 8 classes of character that you can pick from. You get set up in teams of, I can't remember if it's 3 or 4, 20 squads of 3. So 20 squads of 3 get put in. It's kind of like hot potato when you get dropped in. You can, if you were the person that gets to pick where your squad's going, you can pass that to the next person. They can pass it to the next person. They can come back to you. But someone in your platoon or squad or whatever gets to pick where you actually land. And then you start playing. What I thought was really interesting in this, and I don't know what your MO is when you play Fortnite, but typically when I play Fortnite and I die, I jump out of the game and then find a new one. Because I'm not going to sit there and wait.
So I've been big on you watch what's going on, and that's how you kind of learn how to play.
When Thanos was in there, I watched.
Yeah.
But after that, it was kind of meh.
Okay. All right. But, in general, because I don't, I still, man, I haven't played for a couple of months a whole lot. So I'm not exactly an expert. So still like kind of seeing like how people do these crazy builds, like out of nowhere and everything, is always kind of interesting to see. So
in this game, though, your teammates have a certain amount of time to get to you to revive you. Mm-hmm. And if they don't make it there in that amount of time, there's a banner left behind. And if they collect that banner and get it back to a respawn beacon, you can come back in the game as well.
Okay.
So I think it's an interesting add-on to the game. The other thing is as you do better and you become like the champion, your picture and name gets put up on posters all over the inside of the game, which can tend to kind of make you a target. Because I think you actually get bonus experience for going after and getting the champion.
Okay.
I'm pretty impressed with the game so far. I've only played one round. That's all I had time for. But I do plan on picking this back up. What actually spawned a lot of conversation for Kraus and I at work today over lunch was comparing it to Fortnite and Fortnite's ability to crossplay. So I can pick it up on the Switch from a Fortnite perspective. I can pick it up on the Switch. I can, if I'm upstairs, I can pick it up on the Xbox. I can pretty much launch it from any endpoint that I have, and iOS, Android, whatever. The other thing with Fortnite that I like is when I jump from device to device, I bring my skins with me. I bring all of that kind of stuff with me. Apex Legends is only available for PlayStation, Xbox, and PC right now. They alluded to the fact that there might be a Switch version in the future. But they may bring in cross play where I could play on my Switch and play against you on your Xbox.
Mm-hmm.
But there will never be portability in the game where I have my character and I can run that character on any of those devices like I can in Fortnite.
That's interesting. So especially, where we're at right now, and I don't know what Fortnite is doing differently now that other games can't. Do they have to build these tools? I think Riz shared with us a story. Actually, several of us shared a story about Xbox Live cross-platform play coming to like Nintendo Switch, iOS, Android. Which is got to be a response to Fortnite, right? In Rocket League.
Yep. The interesting thing is the game developers made mention that it was a decision they made early on in the development process, and they've kind of painted themselves into a corner in that realm, and it's not something that they can even add. They feel they can even add.
The Apex people cannot
add
because they didn't do it from scratch.
Right.
Okay.
So, and that's an interesting comment. And when we get to the Xbox story, I think it's worth bringing up.
Mm-hmm.
But I ran into this problem with Overwatch. I actually considered purchasing Overwatch for the PC purely based on the fact that in the hopes that I could pick up and continue where I left off.
And you currently have it with Xbox.
And I currently have it with Xbox.
Yeah.
And Blizzard's like, no, we're never going to bring that. So
Which
I'm
is
like,
so
yeah,
weird,
you're never going to get my $30.
So now people are so used to the idea of this concept, right?
Mm-hmm.
That when you don't have it as a feature, like it seems like, it's like something simple like cloud saves seems like a feature that just it makes sense. And I'm pissed off when I have a game on my phone that doesn't support that, right? And when I clear my phone, right? So like it's going to turn a lot of people off to something like this.
Well, and the kicker to me was in the Overwatch perspective, I was willing to repay for the game.
Mm-hmm.
Like I would have kicked another $30 out.
Yeah, as long as you could talk to each other, right?
As long as, and I didn't even care if I could talk to the cross-platform. I just wanted to bring my skins with me. I didn't even care if I brought my level with me. I just wanted to bring my skins with me, and that isn't even possible in that realm. So I wonder if this will become a decision point, and will influence. In this case, I mean, you really can't influence buying power because the game's free. But to me, it kind of locks you into, like, now I have to make sure, okay, if I'm going to continue down the path with this game, I'm going to keep playing on Xbox and I'm never going to jump to the PC or when they come out with a Switch version, or do I kind of play leisurely and decide that Switch is my primary account where I try to get all the skins and get all the level ups, because right, it's just like Fortnite, right, where as you go throughout the what do they call it, the season, you earn those power-ups. Those power-ups then get you coins, credits, all kinds of fun stuff.
There's more incentive for being a long-time player in there. So,
but now I have to be a long-time player on the same platform.
Which is still, okay, and again, I want to, I don't think everybody has this problem. I think most would be like, I'm a PC person, I'm an Xbox person, I'm a PlayStation person, I'm a Switch person, right?
I don't know. So it's an interesting question that I'd actually like people to comment back on is how many people are at least two systems.
Mm-hmm. That'd be interesting to find out.
PC, even if it's PC and Xbox or Xbox and Switch.
The beautiful thing is, sitting here, I already hit the thing on my app on my phone to install Apex Legends on my Xbox One sitting over here. And I don't know if it's kicked on and actually doing it, but
it has not kicked on yet. And I had that problem last night of trying to get it to remotely power on to install.
I usually don't get that. Or I'm sitting at home doing it. I'm not on the same Wi-Fi. But anyways, and actually I might have the Xbox on a different Wi-Fi than my phone, so that might be a reason too. It'll be interesting to see what Apex Legends does. I think it's a little bit of a different equation because it's not something that starts on the phone or something like a Fortnite, and I think that's what really opened up that cross-platform play. Like the idea you can start on your phone, like this little device, and go to your PlayStation is crazy, right?
I'm interested to hear your story too on the Xbox, because I have the Xbox One X, and people are saying that the Xbox One is a little laggy, or it seems like the console's showing its age, which I find hysterical, because when you look at the longevity of the 360, I
think it might be program laziness, because I was reading a story about how Kingdom Hearts 3, they compared like the PlayStation, Xbox, like the new and old, like the HD versions, the higher power, like the Pros and the X's, right? And they said that there was like, it was amazing how bad something that should be simple and rounded like a Kingdom Hearts is cartoony, and how jaggy it was on like an Xbox One. So again, when you give all this power, sometimes it does incite a little bit of laziness. Look at bloated applications like Adobe Photoshop and Word, for instance, over the years from our app side. All right, my awesome thing of the week. They're so far into this one. Also gaming. I'll try to make it a little quick here. Oh man, should I download this game on Origin on this PC over here? I'll probably melt this thing.
There's something, if you use Origin's account, you get some kind of bonuses.
Ooh,
just so you know.
I'll at least put it in the collection for when I have a better PC. The best PCs I have are the ones streaming the show. It's like games with gold. Yeah, exactly. Just at least get it in there. Oh no, I got a lot of that, dude. You know how many games I own that I have never played? I just got to collect them all. I'm a digital game hoarder. We've talked about this problem before. Anyways, my story of this week, Marshmello. Let's talk about Marshmello. Apparently, he's a DJ. I just added him on my Google Music service so I could listen to some of this. But apparently, there was a Fortnite Marshmello concert that took place. There's a video out there if you want to check it out. And also, you can apparently listen to the mixes here exclusively on Apple Music, but he's got music on most platforms, it seems. But they had a Fortnite concert featuring Marshmello, spinning the hot tunes all night long. At least there's a 10-minute video at least going around out there that we found according to this Wired article. But this is cool. So this is and of course, being Fortnite, everybody can dance. So it was something about you had to be on a certain server for this to work, and I don't think it was like a persistent everybody on there was like in the same space kind of situation. Like it's maybe it's kind of the concert was kind of duplicated across servers, and if you're on the same one with everybody. So if you're on music, it's quite a sight. You got to see this video. Like there's a giant stage, there's people playing on dancing on stage, and there's Marshmello hanging out there on a turntable in the middle of it. And there's fireworks, looks like falling from the sky. That's a lot of fun. This feels like the next step of like Second Life did this, where there were like concerts in their space and everything, right? And I feel like Fortnite is kind of the, again, something built to do something specific, build things and kill people in the game, but now they're using it as this persistent world, persistent experience like this. I don't know if you're looking at the video here on the feed here. What do you think of this being another avid Fortnite player?
I think it's an interesting concept, and I totally agree that this is going to be something they continue to use as draw to the game. I'll be interested to see who else picks this up. As a Fortnite player, I didn't attend, I guess, the concert, you could say.
Mm-hmm.
But
I didn't know about it.
Exactly how did it work? Did you go into like a game mode and it kept you from getting booted out? Or?
Well, I'm wondering, since the video is only 10 minutes, if it was a rather short concert. But they say 200 million players attended. But they also say I don't think everybody needed to be in physical on server, like in their player. Like, I think there was a spectator mode as well, perhaps.
Okay.
And it was something about you did have to be on a certain server in order to do this. So, technicals aside, this sounds like a pretty cool thing they had going on. A great Wired article is linked that goes into some of the background on this. And again, this is something I heard about on the way here, not even an hour before the show. That sounds so cool, and I wanted to bring it up and catch the visuals on this thing. So that's my awesome thing. It's just Second Life is back again in the form of this. Like, even the VR persistent worlds haven't really taken on. So. All right, we got more stuff going on. We got your guys' awesome things of the week in a moment, but in the meantime, want to give a shout out at somebody, a new sponsor on the show. I want to give a shout out to a friend of the show. He's been on. I think he was on ages ago. We had, or at least we interviewed him, Professor Buzzkill. You remember that name, Chilla?
It does not.
I mean, it was a while ago. Well, you should subscribe to this. I think you'd have a lot of fun with this. Those who do not learn history are doomed to repeat it. Thankfully, Professor Buzzkill makes learning history entertaining and humorous through his blog and podcast. You can explore with Professor Buzzkill at professorbuzzkill.com. Sign up for his YouTube page, his podcast, subscribe to it. Multiple times a week, he's putting out episodes. He's a myth buster, a history myth buster, and likes to buzz right through those old myths and quotes, quote or quote out. Quote or no quote. I've known this guy for years, and it's been a really entertaining podcast to drop into. He's got, I don't even know how many episodes. I think he's in the hundreds, if I'm not mistaken, at this point. He's a legit history. He's a history professor and everything. Like, he knows his stuff. And again, I want to dig up the old interview we did with him back in the day as well. Maybe bring him in for an updated one as well. But go check out ProfessorBuzzkill.com. Another awesome Pittsburgh-based podcast that you guys can check out, and all you history buffs out there. So, well, like I said, we have some video game stuff coming on here from you guys were submitting in the group this week. But first of all, we need to bring up the thing that we were jamming to before the show, and Riz put this as the note here is, I'm just going to leave this here as the best Twitch channel ever. This is Our Chicken Life on Twitch. It is multiple cameras from a chicken coop somewhere that he shared with us. Our Wonderful Chicken Life category under science and technology. And what is it? If you're just watching chickens, they're just chickens.
But and I don't know if we were recording when I brought it up earlier. It says feed the chickens by sending 50 cents in Bitcoin, Cash, Litecoin, or Twitch bits.
Mm-hmm.
My question is, if I give them 50 cents, is there like a light that goes on in their house and someone goes out there and sprinkles chicken feed? Or is it like I give them 50 cents in some kind of...
Oh, I'm sure it's automated.
Some kind of automated thing.
I'm sure it's automated.
How do they keep the chickens from being overfed?
I don't know if that's a problem. Depends on what these chickens are here for.
Chicken wings.
Yeah, we're just fattening them up. But no, you can check it out at Our Chicken Life. We were playing music and jamming to watching the chickens. We mentioned this briefly, but Riz, and again, multiple people were talking about this before. Xbox Live is said to be coming to Nintendo Switch, iOS, Android This is going to be in a future update coming up here. So man, we already have like the Xbox Live, like PC Xbox crossover. I feel like this is again a response to the like Fortnite-ication. That's not the right way to say that. Of cross-platform, right? Like this is kind of an answer to that. There's obviously a need for it, or is it because Microsoft's coming from behind in the console race that they need to spread this across? You think, Chilla?
So I question from a game developer's perspective, what is the incentive to get the developer to go to this method, this concept? Because the only reason I say that is because, did you ever play Shadowrun back in the day for Xbox 360?
No.
That was like one of the first cross-play games that Microsoft put out.
Mm-hmm.
And you had in-game achievements where if you were on Xbox and took out a person on PC, you got like 10 gold achievement points, and vice versa.
We already have a little bit of that with, say, Mortal Kombat X. I played for a long time the mobile version of that.
Yes.
And then finally over like Black Friday this past year, picked up a copy of it for the Xbox One, linked my account, my WP account or whatever, right? And it gives you stuff, right? Same with Injustice, same with Immortals. That was its own thing. But that's
But I guess where I was
useful.
Going, yeah, it's very useful. But I feel like those are like a different version of the game on mobile that then
right. Oh,
unlock
absolutely,
things on the
absolutely.
Other. And I really like that concept.
They're more like an advertisement for the other game, but also
Mm-hmm.
there's in-game purchases and everything, and it's kind of more of a collectible level up thing than maybe the main game is. Oh, actually, the Mortal Kombat is still like pretty much like that mobile game as far as levels and things like that. And also the leveling up that I did on Xbox or on the phone version of Mortal Kombat carried straight over.
That's nice.
To the game when I picked that.
Does it carry back?
I don't play it on my phone anymore because I got rid of freemium games.
Okay.
So,
where I worry about this is it's a very cool concept, but are developers going to pick it up? Because I feel like we saw it with
always the issue
Shadowrun, and then like didn't see it forever. Now we have the Xbox.
You know what's going to incentivize them to do this? Fortnite. Everybody that wants a Fortnite clone or wants that success, that crossover success that Fortnite has, that persistent ability that Fortnite has, will do this. Also, how crazy is it going to be to see like Xbox Live on a Switch? On a Nintendo
Is it going to be that?
Switch.
So,
also, how much of Xbox Live is it?
Yeah, how much? Yeah, and I saw someone in the chat commented. Was it Brandon? Brandon commented he has a PS3 and a Switch.
Mm-hmm.
How many people today would buy the same game twice, or are we going to go to this free model with skins and all kinds of? I hope it's not pay to win. Like
right.
The thing that's to me key about Fortnite is that gives no one a leg up. It's you buy your dances and you buy your skins, and it's a cool factor.
Isn't there guns? Aren't there guns
competitive-
for you to level up with, or backpacks or something like that?
The backpacks, but they don't give you anything.
Okay,
it's just a different looking glider to come in on.
Oh, it's literally just a different thing.
And the axe or the hammer, the pickaxe type thing. It's a different look to that. It doesn't add damage.
It doesn't
value.
level up or anything.
It doesn't do anything like that. So I hope I worry, will we take a bad turn towards a pay to win? And what, again, I would look at this and I would think, okay, Apex Legends, they're saying that when they started developing the software, portability wasn't going to be possible, and that was a decision they made early on. Mm-hmm. I'm guessing they didn't make that decision last week.
Yeah.
I'm guessing this game's been in development for 9 to 12 months, maybe, or maybe more.
Yeah.
So if Microsoft released this today,
can you
when
patch
are we
it back
gonna
on?
really start seeing this?
Yeah. Yeah.
And how's that all going to work?
It'll be interesting.
The other thing from that perspective is like if I'm developing the next Metroid, am I going to get Metroid over to Xbox and iOS?
Here's where. Well, yeah, no, I don't think it's the games. I think it's. I don't think we're talking about Metroid. I don't think we're talking about, like Riz is talking about, Kratos from God of War being in Smash Brothers. I think you're talking about the platform agnostic games like Fortnite, right? You're not talking about Halo. You're not talking, necessarily.
But I don't know. Would Microsoft be willing to make that jump?
You never know. Nintendo is, right, with at least mobile. I mean, there's another story here from Brandon here about Dr. Mario World is announced for mobile. So this year we're going to get Dr. Mario World, and we're going to get a Mario Kart game, I believe, in March on our mobile platforms. Excited about that. Still rocking my original Game Boy cartridge in an Game Boy Advance on my nightstand. So I'm excited for that little bit of an upgrade. I still love booting up the one that they had on the Wii. So also very sad. I was I think it was an Eaton Park, and our server told us about how prehistoric the Wii was.
Prehistoric in what way?
Just they were very young. Probably pre them. So anyways, no, that would be interesting. Sony, speaking of, has apparently filed a patent for backwards compatibility. For my read on this, it looks like it supposedly will be for full compatibility on the PlayStation 5. It was where the speculation is. They kind of like stepped away from backwards compatibility, so it'll be interesting to see them kind of roll back into it. I mean, I don't think I'm going to be able to throw my PlayStation 2 and PlayStation 1 discs in this thing, but you never know. Good to see is there. I mean, there's these catalogs, and I'm glad to see all these consoles are like kind of observing their back catalogs, right? Like,
but how do you patent backwards compatibility? Because isn't everybody already doing it? I mean, my Wii U plays my Wii games. My Xbox One plays my 360. A portion of my 360 catalog. I mean, what's to patent here that gives?
It's a patent in Japan, and maybe it's just something specifically with PlayStation games. So, but I mean, this is just I don't know. Hopefully it's not hopefully they don't patent the idea and it screws everybody else over, because that seems to be, at least in America, the way those things work. Finally, producer Missy had one where there's a woman. We always worry about I always worry about getting AirPods and losing those things. And apparently there's a woman who turned her AirPods into earrings in order to keep from losing them.
Did they? Because I saw the picture of them dangling.
Mm-hmm.
Did they show any of the pictures of her with them in her ears? Because I was wondering, like, how the earring, like, does it loop up?
I think
because it didn't look that long to me.
There's enough chain on these that there's plenty of chain on
there.
There's
enough linked together paper clips.
Yeah, wait, and she puts it in, and boop, there you go. If they fall out, you don't have to worry about it. So I think that's all the problem. So Chilla, we have to pierce our ears in order to not lose our AirPods. I know you're looking at it on the catch-up video up there.
Yeah. I have one piercing. I could give it a whirl with a chain.
Oh, there you go. Yeah, you got kind of the top of your thing going.
Yeah.
Or maybe if we could just attach them to like our glasses.
Or maybe I can just super glue them in my ears.
There you go. Just hear all the time. So, all right. We got plenty of other stories we want to touch on here, but first we need to give a shout out to our friend who has literally fueled us this evening for this show. Our good friends down the road at Slice on Broadway. You can go check them out here in Beachview, right along the tracks here on Broadway. Hence the name, over in Carnegie, PA, East End, and PNC Park, home of the Pittsburgh Pirates, who will be getting in season here in just a couple of months, I guess. So go check them out. Supporting Pittsburgh podcasting with the perfect pepperoni pizza for a good long time. Our friends that are always supporting the show with some awesome pizza. Go check them out, sliceonbroadway.com, PJs_slice on the Twitter. Go check out, they have text and Instagram clubs, specials going on all the time, and go check them out all over the city of Pittsburgh here. Thank you to our friends at Slice on Broadway for supporting the show. All right. We have a couple stories left here. Chilla, what do you want to touch on first?
So did you see my tweet?
Hmm?
I think it was yesterday and today. And if you go down to number 6, I have the 5Gs.
You have the 5Gs.
I have the 5Gs.
Wait. Oh, I got this picture. I'll pull this up here.
So it was interesting. Yesterday I was on the train ride home and my phone got kind of weird.
Mm-hmm.
And then I looked up in the upper right-hand corner and I had 5GE signal, not LTE, not 4G, not 3G, not, what was it? What was the old ones? GPRS. I had 5GE. So if you are, and this will start in the next version of iOS 12.2, AT&T customers in certain areas will be flipped from LTE to 5GE. And what this means is you are capable of supporting 4x4 MIMO, 256 QAM, and LAA technologies. I'm not 100% sure what all of those are. I know
So that was a lot of technologies I'm not sure
the
about.
MIMO has to do with multiple bands running data simultaneously up and down. But the interesting thing with this that I noticed is when I get right to about the studio, I lose it. And then I go back to LTE. So there is something in the city that is different for AT&T customers than it is in like Dormont.
Mm-hmm.
So
what kind of phone was this that it was on?
This is an iPhone.
Oh, it's an iPhone.
Yes. And it's on the next rev of the OS.
Okay.
So it's on. I'm on 12.2 beta.
And which phone specifically do you have?
The iPhone 10s.
10s. So so it's probably like this past year's iPhones, right? Like I'm not going to get it on an 8 Plus.
Correct. This means that the iPhone 10s, 10s Max, and the 2018 iPad Pros are capable of 5GE and will show the 5GE badge. The interesting thing is T-Mobile has been using this technology since they rolled it out back in 2014. Verizon followed suit in late 2018, and AT&T was the last carrier to deploy this technology. But like I said, the interesting thing is it's not available everywhere.
Mm-hmm.
So mileage may vary. It doesn't actually change anything. It's, to me, more of a notifier of how you're actually connected.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm sure when when 5G actually deploys for real, because this isn't real 5G, how are they going to notate that?
So Potter's in the chat room calling out, like, just like the half step from 3G to LTE, it was like HCS. He says, wasn't it like HSPA plus? But when you had like an AT&T phone, it simply said 4G.
Yeah.
Meanwhile, now if I see 4G on my phone, it works like crap.
Yep.
So I'm like, wait a minute, this doesn't seem right. Why does it feel like I'm back on 3G, 2G speeds when I dump down from this? Because it wasn't that much of a jump. Then I'm just used to LTE.
I'm guessing it was because of the way that the bands work. So with LTE, with 5GE, which is actually LTEA, you're theoretically, you can get gigabit speeds.
Okay.
With true 5G, you'll have a theoretical maximum of 20 gigabits per second.
Mm-hmm.
And latency as low as 1 millisecond, which we all know makes getting to pages faster and getting the content quicker. So
it'll be interesting how that rolls out. I'm not sold on 5G. Just the idea that they need to, the range is not that good. So, the amount of antennas they're going to have to put up is ridiculous to be able to update on this. So you're only going to get this in the middle of dense cities. it feels, or very specific places. Like maybe a conference center or something would have this, right?
So here's the question for you: What's less expensive? Putting antennas up or running hardwire?
And that may be the thing, right?
And that's where I think we're going to see the differential is. It's a lot cheaper for me to put one antenna on a pole and rebroadcast than it is for me to run wire.
So you're
pole
thinking
to pole to pole to pole.
So
to
you're
pole.
thinking like the poles that typically we would run wire, like every pole, every like 100 feet or whatever, that gets an antenna.
That's my guess.
Interesting.
I almost look at like pit mesh, right?
Right.
You can run off of your wire and set up pit mesh, but across the street, they can grab another pit mesh and just add the pit mesh and bounce off of yours, right? And extend that out without having to contribute the bandwidth. I'm guessing that this would kind of follow the same mesh network. Just look at where we've gone with mesh, even in your house. I'm guessing they're going that route. And let's face it, a lot of this has to do with how much money they can make and how much cheaper they can do things. And that's where I would guess that this allows them to go.
So here's another one. This is something that's interesting to see, but it's not entirely what I thought it was. I remember back in the day, all of 3 years ago when I started flying on planes. And I remember getting on Southwest. I remember this thing called Beats Music. It was a music service that the Beats, headphones used, that company, and then they all got bought by Apple, and we have other things. So I guess this is the next generation. But if you're on Southwest, like you had like Beats channels you could listen to, right? This felt like a little bit of like the next gen of that, maybe, but not entirely. Apparently, if you are on American Airlines flights and you have an Apple Music subscription, you can connect to their Wi-Fi for free and listen to your Apple Music over the Wi-Fi. And I think most of the time streaming services like this are not allowed on your Wi-Fi on a plane, particularly like streaming video or something like that, unless it's something like, they have direct TV through a browser, basically, right? And you can watch channels through that. So I don't know, could be interesting. Just an interesting addition to this, but it seems like all these guys have these kinds of connections.
No. So if you're doing this,
if you have an Apple Music subscription.
If I have an Apple Music subscription, I can log into the Wi-Fi for free to get to Apple Music.
Apparently.
Can I log into the Wi-Fi for free and go to Facebook?
I don't know.
Or is it just for Apple Music? Because the interesting thing to this, and to me, this is a way to get more Apple Music subscribers. And the only reason I say that is because I've noticed that I can do a couple of different things in Apple Music. I can hit the add playlist, which then gives me a download button, and I can download all that music to my device. I've also noticed that any of the music that I've played recently that I didn't download must be cached in some manner. And the only reason I say that is because at the gym, I have very spotty connectivity from both a carrier and Wi-Fi perspective. And I can not have internet connectivity, but it's like I always listen to the same playlist, which is like an Apple Music playlist. I listen to the same playlist for 15 minutes, so I always listen to the same songs.
Yeah.
And no matter what my connectivity method is, I don't have to buffer. I don't have to wait. It's just cached somewhere on the device. So to me, getting on a flight, I would have, and being an Apple Music subscriber already, I would probably have enough content to get me through.
But maybe not everybody. Maybe not everybody does it that way. Depending on their settings.
Yeah, I guess. But
so
I don't know. To me, it's because it looks like if you're not an Apple Music subscriber, you can even sign up for your free trial while you're on the plane.
There you go. It's mostly just saying, hey, this Wi-Fi is going to allow you to stream from this service exclusively. But if you're Spotify, you're out of luck. So I don't know, and we'll see how it works because, man, Wi-Fi and planes do not work all that great. So the wild thing, have you ever heard of this? If I sign up for just the texting plan on a Southwest flight, I still receive all my notifications from all the apps on my phone. I just can't respond to all of them because they only let you use specific like iMessage and Facebook Messenger and WhatsApp. Say,
Okay, so it's letting you use those.
it's letting you use those,
So
but
they have to open up. So
they're opening up whatever port that is going to receive notifications.
Apple push notifications.
Oh,
So the Apple push notification service is a common technology from Apple that Apple has to be the intermediary for all of those.
Mm-hmm.
So if Facebook contacts Apple and says Mike Sorg has a Facebook notification,
Mm-hmm.
and then Apple says, "Hey, where are all of Mike Sorg's devices?"
And if you don't open that up, you probably break iMessage and Facebook
Yes.
Messenger and WhatsApp. So
they all won't work.
So it's like
especially
a weird,
iMessage.
it's a weird loophole, you
Yes.
know. So in the meantime, it's like, hey, I just saw I got this Facebook, notification. Text my wife, hey, can you answer this person? And do this. So I just kind of an interesting loophole I've noticed on my flights, at least. So hey, tell us what Echo is doing with books.
So I just saw this on the way over here tonight.
Mm-hmm.
So we've talked about the different stuff Netflix has done with Choose Your Own Adventure,
Bandersnatch and the Minecraft stories.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
So Amazon has jumped on the train with Audible, and they're actually using the original publisher that did the Choose Your Own Adventure.
The one that's suing Bandersnatch for using the
Yes.
term Choose Your Own Adventure.
Which I guess is Choose Co. I didn't know that was
Choose Co. Of course. It sounds like a company from a Black Mirror episode.
But they have two of the books, Journey Under the Sea and The Abominable Snowman, available today. You can ask A Train to enable the service and to open Choose Your Own Adventure from Audible.
Mm-hmm.
And you will then get to pick between the titles, and there's it has music, it reads you the book, and when it comes time to make a decision, it gives you the options. It makes an audible beep.
We have to choose it from, like, we have to purchase it from Audible, right, in order to do this.
I don't know.
Hold on, Alexa, choose your own adventure. The movie? No. Alexa, stop.
You have to say open Choose Your Own Adventure from Audible.
Hold on. Alexa, choose your own. No, I did it wrong. Alexa, stop.
That's the name of the episode. Alexa, stop.
Alexa, stop. Yes. Well, I've been threatening to hook Alexa into. Well, I'm sorry. Hook her into the board so we can actually talk to her on the show.
Oh, that'd be fun.
I think maybe when we get the board upgraded, we can do that. We'll plug that in. We'll plug the Google Home in, and then like on the show, we can do weird.
She'll have her own mic and headset.
She'll have her own mic and headset. And then we're gonna have to make sure we get something enough Slice on Broadway for her too. So, all right.
Is there a Slice on Broadway skill?
Because
there should be.
There should be. Throw that out to our friends Slice on Broadway. There should be an Echo skill for that. Okay, I had a couple of things, but I unfortunately didn't deep dive into them enough that I feel comfortable bringing up on the show. Oh, but NewsGuard, actually.
I saw this. And
there's been a lot of discussion about NewsGuard in this past week. A few podcasts like This Week in Google where there are actual like news people on there talk about this. So the idea was, maybe we brought this up as a story. It's now standard installed in the Microsoft Edge browser, but you can put this on any browser as a plugin, and the idea is it has its own editorial staff, so you have to put your trust in these guys in this. so that's where a little bit of debate is: who are these guys? What's this saying here? Some things aren't curated, but if you install this, and as you see articles linked like on Facebook or Google or wherever else, there's like a little check mark or green or red or yellow thing, or a question mark, or I've seen it identified as a comedy site before. It basically lets you know if the news source is valid, I guess. So, and again, don't use it as the end all be all, but if you're just kind of not sure, then it seems like a pretty good idea at least. And if you go to newsguardtech.com, it'll just have a button in the corner for whatever browser you happen to be on to install it right there, and it's a pretty simple process. I think this is good for anybody that is kind of worried about that these days, about quote unquote fake news and everything, to see, or if you keep sharing things, or like me, where I keeps getting shared articles from family members, and then I have to pull up the Snopes article on why it's wrong. This will kind of do it a little bit built in when you explain that. It's like, here, this is a thing that can help you identify stuff that is not real, one way or another, or is that site that you're listening to, maybe a little bit questionable in their methods, and it's stuff like, are they fact checking? Are they second sourcing, general tenets of journalism in some of these sites. So a curious thing, I've played with it a little bit, noticed the check marks and the pluses and everything, but not enough to gauge how good it is, at least. Like stuff that I usually, but I think the biggest thing is, like, when I see stuff shared on Facebook, I want to see what it does for pro wrestling news articles, because nothing is more questionable than pro wrestling news articles, to a point where a local news source here in the city quoted a pro wrestling news site, which I think is very questionable. Because, yeah.
So my question is, it sounds like they're using curation and kind of background checks on sites and content,
and internal editorial. I want to make that clear.
And internal
like
editorial.
NewsGuard has an editorial team, from what I understand, that helps curate, like, this is a site that is X.
So does it give like a... Does it ever come back and say, I don't know? Like,
yes.
Okay.
There are sites.
I would rather see I don't know than it trying to make like a flip of a coin.
There are sites, from what I understand from the people I've listened to, that it will come back as a question mark, just like not as enough people have submitted about this site.
Okay.
I have a feeling a lot of the wrestling news sites that I listen to, or that come up on my feed and stuff for the other shows, I have a feeling a lot of those will be question marks, because I can't imagine there's a large push to validate wrestling dirt sheets. But anyways, it's something, and maybe, it's something that you maybe install on your grandma's computer or something if you're worried about it. It's hopefully a step in the right direction for a lot of people to help educate. And I think that's the biggest thing, is educating on news, what it is and the sources, and what makes a valid news source. And it seems the one small piece of the puzzle that you can add to somebody's browser. So, and then we find out that they've been taking your information the whole time and selling it to Russia. I don't know. Who knows? These days with anything that you install on any service. But we're just going to go on faith on that one. So, all right, Chilla, anything else you want to touch on before we head out of here?
No, I think we hit the majority of mine.
Sounds good to me. All right. Well, before we do head out of here, I want to give a shout out to our good friend Alex Cars, contributor on the show and some other properties we've had around here. If you guys need help with media and putting the puzzle together from media branding to print and digital projects, Alex does it all. He also does logos, merchandise, websites, even photo and video projects. Check out alexcars.media, alexkahrs.media for more information on that and how to get it. He's done great stuff with us. He's done DVD covers. He's done a website design when we were kicking off our indiewrestling.us website, and I know he's done t-shirts and media for a lot of pro wrestlers out there in the industry too. Go check him out at alexcars.media. And thank you for supporting the show in all the ways that he does as well. Well, we are, like I said, we're going to be rescheduling one Bobby Cherry back on the show. Again, a whole new lineup of guests here scheduled for that too. But in the meantime, I want to get in, and please go check out the Bold Pittsburgh Sports edition that we did do this past weekend, and we had a lot of fun. I know it was the pre-Super Bowl edition, but there was a lot of, they did their picks at the end and everything, but there was a lot of talk about local breweries and sports in general and kind of generalized stuff there. In the meantime, please go check out this Thursday morning at 10 a.m. We have a very special and different Pittsburgh Current podcast is going to be going on over there with special guest, adult film star Michelle James is going to be here in the studio, Chilla. And
I heard about this.
You heard about
I got
this.
Pre-release news on this.
Oh, you got the pre-release news on it. But go check that out. That'll be streaming over on the Pittsburgh Current Facebook page. And please subscribe to that podcast as well, so you don't miss what's going on there. And she was featured in the sex issue for Pittsburgh Current, which is out on the stands, I believe, today. So go check it out. And I did love. Did you see the survey they did for the sex issue? How Yin's banging?
I did. I saw the survey. I did not participate in the survey.
I did not either. But it was great when we had like the we have politicians in here and they're trying to maybe not say that phrase entirely, but no, we had a lot of fun with those guys. A great show going on there, and go check out everything else going on at sorgatronmedia.com, at Sorgatron on the Twitter for me. Chilla, where you be? Where you be on the internet?
At Chilla on the Twitters. I am. Well, I can't remember what my Twitch is now.
And you'll be hanging out at Our Chicken Life on Twitch.
I will be. You can find me at Our Chicken Life. Tossing my 50 cents to buy some feed for them.
You gotta feed those chickens, right?
Yes.
Thank you, producer Missy, keeping us straight on the show here with everything going on here. She's all over the internet. She's Rebecca's Flaw on the tweets. You want to tweet at her, and
she's playing Galaga.
She's playing Galaga?
I don't know. She's over there on her phone.
Oh, she's playing.
I was making the reference to the Avengers.
That man is playing Galaga. I love that.
He thought we wouldn't notice.
He thought you wouldn't notice,
but we did.
That was that the first Avengers?
Yeah.
That's a good one. Still a classic. Before everything got all grim and everything. So, all right. Thanks a lot, everybody. Thank you to our awesome audience. Have an awesome week. This show is a member of the Sorgatron Media Podcast Network. Find out more at sorgatronmedia.com.
You're listening to WHBJ Digital Talk from Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania, home of Cold War Radio. You can listen live 8 p.m. Monday, Wednesdays, and Fridays.
Wilcox! I say there, Wilcox, old man.
Remingchester shotgun as I live, breathe, and batter my brains for burgeoning boasts about the battery of batteries, the Autolite Stay Full battery. The battery that needs water only 3 times a year in normal car use.
Cease sounding off. Was it not you who defied me to find a camel that could go without water as long as an Autolite Stay Full battery?
Defy you I did, you dubious dunderhead.
Please, no compliments. I concede your claim regarding ordinary one-hump camels, but what about a two-hump camel? Need I say more?
Well, you probably mean he can go twice as long without refilling. But Autolite Stay Full batteries hold over 3 times as much liquid reserve above the plate as ordinary batteries. Need I say more?
Zounds. I shall have to find a dromedary with 4 humps.
Even that won't do it, for Autolite Stay Full batteries need water only 3 times a year in normal car use. What's more, in recent tests, based on SAE life cycle standards, Autolite Stay Full batteries gave 70% longer average life than batteries without Stay Full features. So get wise. Get an Autolite Stay Full battery, because you're always right with Autolite.
In every Chevrolet showroom across America, more and more people are looking at the car that's just out and just wonderful. The 1957 Chevrolet. Some are looking at Chevrolet's daring new front-end styling, the bold new grille, big, beautiful sloping hood. Some are looking at Chevy's handsome new rear end with high fashion fenders and fresh new design. Everyone's enthused about the new color-fashioned interiors and the sleek command post instrument panel. And the biggest news of all, Chevrolet's fuel injection. The greatest engine advance.
One America News Network, your leading source for the latest breaking national and international news. With nearly 4 times as many headlines as the other networks. Straight news, no speculation, no opinion, just the facts. Complete coverage 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. One America Network, your source for credible news.
Speaker, Mrs. Milan's very own. That is, when our young son Daniel hasn't picked it up and carried it off to his room.
Oh, there you have it, Ray. Even a mere youngster can play it.
Jimmy, you can hardly miss getting those 7-inch records onto the big center spindle correctly. And what's there to do after that?
Nothing but press one button once and enjoy up to 50 minutes of music.
And what music, Jimmy? Such rich tone.
And there's the second great feature of the RCA Victor 45, quality. The third is its low cost. 45 automatic players begin at $12.95. And 45 records as low as 46 cents. Those 15 dance albums you mentioned, Ray, cost $12.45 less when purchased on 45. And that's only 50 cents short of the price of a completely automatic 45 attachment. With record savings like this, it's no wonder all America is swinging to 45.
Best swing I've ever seen, Jimmy.
None better, Ray. Friends, join the swing to 45 when you buy your next record.
A plan in principle. I'm Lisa Lacera, Fox News. Lawmakers agreeing on a deal that would keep the government open past the Friday deadline.
Senate Majority Leader Mitch McConnell calls the agreement a win for Republicans and for President Trump.
From a Republican point of view, there is money in there for new barrier fencing.
The deal would fully fund the government and provide a little less than $1.5 billion for border barriers. That is far short of the $5.7 billion requested by President Trump. Democrats won concessions on limits for the number of immigrants detained by ICE, though provisions would likely mean total detentions could increase from current levels with all available funding.
Fox's Jared Halpern on Capitol Hill. But President Trump's support remains up in the air.
I would hope that there won't be a shutdown. I am extremely unhappy with what the Democrats have given us. It's sad. It's sad. They're doing the country no favor. They are hurting our country very badly.
The president continues to call for building a border wall, something the Democrats say is a non-starter. After 6 days of deliberations, the New York City jury finds a notorious Mexican drug kingpin guilty on all counts.
Prosecutors called the conviction of Joaquin El Chapo Guzman a victory and a life sentence from which there is no return. He was found guilty on 10 total counts. DEA agent Raymond Donovan says El Chapo, a legend in Mexico, was shown for what he is.
A ruthless killer, a violent drug trafficker, arms trafficker, money launderer, and manipulator.
Defense attorney Jeffrey Lichtman says they will appeal.
Do I think it was a fair trial? No. We wouldn't have objected at all if we thought the trial was completely fair.
The conviction carries life without parole, likely at a Supermax prison in solitary confinement.
Fox's Gernal Scott, retired astronaut Mark Kelly announcing his candidacy as a Democrat for the Arizona Senate seat that had been held by John McCain. This is Fox News.
I'm Jessica Rosenthal. Today on the Fox News Rundown, dueling rallies at the border show both sides are digging in as another government shutdown looms. We speak to Fox's Casey Stiegel at the border and contributor Doug Schoen. Go to foxnewsrundown.com to listen and subscribe.
California's governor laying out his agenda by outlining his differences with the president.
Governor Gavin Newsom began his entire State of the State speech by mocking President Trump about his border and immigration-related fears.
This border emergency is nothing more than a manufactured crisis, and California will not be part of this political theater.
He also said they disagree with the president on health care and the need for the Obamacare individual mandate. However, Newsom did offer this olive branch.
I want to thank President Trump for calling attention to prescription drug prices last week in a State of the Union.
He said that is and should be a bipartisan issue. Jessica Rosenthal, Fox News.
Venezuela's foreign minister says he told the UN Secretary General the government of Nicolas Maduro wants what he's calling deepening cooperation with UN agencies in areas impacted by the international assault by the United States. And he insists there is no humanitarian crisis, but he wouldn't say whether he asked the UN for food or medicine. She had a record-setting Grammy win, but Cardi B has now deactivated one of her social media accounts.
After becoming the first solo female artist to win Best Rap Album for Invasion of Privacy, Cardi B signed off Instagram. The rapper deactivating her account after sharing a profanity-laced clip calling out critics who feel she didn't deserve the win. She recounted her struggles making the album while pregnant.
While everybody was harassing me like, you're not gonna do it, we know you pregnant, your career's over.
The artist later took to Twitter to thank those who have supported her, saying, I listened to my album and I cry because I know the hell I went through. Kristen Goodwin, Fox News.
New Jersey Sportsbook's the first in the nation to accept wagers on the Oscars after getting state regulatory approval. The Oscars are set for Sunday, February 24th. I'm Lee Silasera, and this is Fox News.
I just think he ought to be honest with the American people and try to win as the real Mitt Romney.
Meet the real Mitt Romney.
Who is the real Romney?
No one really knows who the real Mitt Romney is.
He's an enigma, and he's a dad and a family man.
Who is the real Romney?
Ladies and gentlemen, the President of the United States.
Can I have your attention, please? Can I have your attention, please? Will the real Mitt Romney please stand up? I repeat, will the real Mitt Romney please stand up? We're going to have a problem here.
Y'all act like you haven't seen a Mormon before. George down on the floor. I'm not concerned about the very poor. Got it wrong. Sorry, that's not what I meant. I want every American to be in the top 1%. I'm really named Willard. That's my first name. I'm not looking for a colony on the moon, just for someone to blame. I like being able to fire people.
I'm Newt Gingrich.
You're fired.
I'm Rick Santorum, and I'm fired.
Boom, boom, boom.
Conservative women love Mitt Romney.
And I love cars. I love lakes. I'm running for office, for Pete's sake. With regards to abortion, pro-life, pro-choice, I firmly believe in my own singing voice. For purple mountains' majesty above the fruited plain.
Where are we at, John?
With regards to abortion, you can choose your own adventure. It's a Republican dimension. And I'm more concerned about the banks. They're unable to lend. Corporations are people, my friend. My dog is on the roof. My dog is on the roof. Who let the dogs out? Understand, I'm an exception. The Obama contraception. Not a vulture. I'm an eagle. I'm going to get my lawn cut by illegals. There will be an influx of Hispanic voters in trucks. Look, if you don't believe, I'll tell you what, $10,000? Well, I made a lot of money. Matter of factually. So I drive a couple of Cadillacs, actually. I have emotion and passion. That's a joke for the record. But if you want the soul of America restored, come on board. Take your fair share and every Mormon raise your underwear. Sing the chorus. Papa Bear, I'm Mitt Romney, and I'm the real Romney. All the other Mitt Romneys are just masturbating.
Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, to WHBJ Digital Talk. We just heard Awesomecast. I'm going to make some programming adjustments to get this to work a little better. They actually record tonight, and what you heard was last Tuesday's episode. I'm going to adjust that and move them around. I'm Hutch Bailey Jr. Ladies and gentlemen, I hope you're enjoying the programming. Please share the show. I'm in Facebook jail, so, hey, got to share it on Facebook for me. I couldn't do that. We're thinking that whole thing over. But anyway, ladies and gentlemen, we're going to go to last night's broadcast of Cold War Radio 688, the Monday Sentinel with Radio Norway. So I will not slow this train down anymore. Here we go. Take it away. thanks to everybody listening in the chat room. I appreciate that. We had Awesomecast before, and now we're going to listen to last night's episode. But thanks for hanging in there and chatting. We appreciate it. Rocky's going to get some gaming stations in now at the VFW so everybody can keep up with the Sims and everything else. Have a good night, ladies and gentlemen. Enjoy. Yeah, Ginger H. I love that too. Welcome to Cold War Radio. I'm Hutch Bailey Jr., your host, deep down in the broadcast bunker in the city of Pittsburgh. From across the ocean, let's bring in the man himself, Radio Norway. Please come in, please.
Good evening, Mr. Hutch Bailey Jr. Good evening to our lovely Cold War Radio audience on Spreaker and on all our other outlets. Looking forward to a fantastic Monday show.
I am too, starting the week off right. Please follow me on Spreaker, like the Facebook page, Cold War. It's facebook.com/Cold War Radio 22. If you want to email the program, Hutch at steelcityresistance.com. The Cold War Radio patron hotline, 412-206-6208. If you want to catch the show after the live stream, it's available just about everywhere. The 405media.com, Spreaker.com, SteelCityResistance.com, iHeartRadio. You can download the iHeartRadio or the Cold War Radio app for free in your app store. You can catch the show on YouTube. Not too many people catch it there, but it has the benefit of transcriptions. There's captions. So if you know somebody hard of hearing that would like to enjoy the program, there's a place to do it. They do a good job. Please use the hashtag Cold War Radio to try to get the conversation, keep the conversation going. And again, go to SteelCityResistance.com, and there you can catch the research room with several different areas of interest for your knowledge base. You can become a Cold War Radio patron and help the show out. Subscribe on Subscribestar if you don't like Patreon. Also, Marlene's going to be in the news twice tonight because once she contacted me and told me that the links were broken on contacting your rep in D.C., and they were suspended by the Patriot journalists, so I had to put some new links in there, so that is still up and running. So thank you, Marlene, for that. Contacting your rep via social media, that is. If you want to write to the program, write to Cold War Radio, P.O. Box 96022, Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania, 15226. You're listening to the Monday Sentinel on Cold War Radio with host Hutch Bailey Jr. and Radio Norway. Yeah, shout out to Madison Rising. Go to MadisonRising.com and support that group. Just a great patriotic American group. They're following us on Twitter, retweeting Cold War Radio stuff. So thank you to you people of Madison Rising. You're great patriots, and we are proud to open our programming with your rendition of the national anthem. Thank you for permission for that, by the way. Thanks again to Marlene. Marlene upped her game in Patreon. Thank you very much. That keeps the machinery moving, so to speak. If anybody else wants to lower or raise your patronage amount, you can do that at any time. You can end it. We ask that you keep all donations under $10,000, though. That just helps with banking regulations, and we won't have to move.
We've had a lot of trouble with that in the past. So,
all right, I got something to say to lead the program off. I'm gonna drop a bomb here, and I don't know. I hope it doesn't happen, but I don't know if you people watch the Grammys. I did not, but I saw reporting from the Grammy. And by the way, congratulations to Kaya Jones, a friend of mine, for winning a Grammy. God bless you. Good job, Kaya. But if you noticed who attended the Grammys Norway, there was a certain Big Mike in the audience. And wow, you talk about Elvis Presley popularity among the airheads that would go to the Grammys. All you people and all you pundits that are reporting on all these different Democratic presidential candidates, presidential primary candidates, hang it up. None of them, all that has to happen is Michelle Obama has to say she's running and the rest of you are dead. Mark my words, that goes for Kamala Harris too. And it goes for Hillary Clinton too. And I'm telling you, she came out there for a reason. And she's the only person in the whole world that makes me nervous when it comes to an election. And I'm not saying that she could win, but by God, that'll be a fight, Norway.
Who you're talking about now? Hillary Clinton?
Michelle Obama.
Oh, Michelle Obama. Oh, she makes you nervous, really?
She does. Very nervous. Very nervous.
I don't know. She has some really great tailors tailoring her dresses, but that's about the only thing she's got going for her. I mean,
she's the candidate of hate. And that's what these
candidate of hate. She's a communist. I mean,
so are they.
Any sensible candidate running for Republicans, all they have to do is just look at her track record, and they can tell the American people where the country will end up if she got elected. It would end up as Venezuela.
Well, it would. It would. But the thing is, and I understand this electorate, and I agree with you. People in this audience would never vote for her, him, whatever. But she commands respect when she goes somewhere, more than Hillary Clinton. And I'm just putting it out there. I would not take that woman for granted. These people, see, there's two kind of people in the Democrat Party. You got the Ocasio-Cortezes and the other openly socialist people. But do you really think that the American people, the Democrat voters, think that Hillary Clinton's a communist? No, but she's one of the worst.
Yeah.
And that's what I mean. They have this ability to put this makeup on, and they have the entire Hollywood world at their fingertips, at their disposal to pass lies, and they will. And then Donald Trump's a racist.
Yeah, but, they still have to beat Donald Trump. They still have to beat Donald Trump, and I think that nobody puts into simple, understandable words what socialism entails and who are socialists better than Donald Trump. I mean, Michelle Obama would definitely be a bigger challenge than
anybody.
Pinocchio there, being propped up by doctors on stage. So she would be a more serious challenge for the Republicans to beat. But if Donald Trump is running in 2020, he will be the guy to beat her.
And I agree with that. And I'm not saying Donald Trump can't beat her. That's not what I'm saying at all. What I'm saying is, as soon as she enters the game, everybody else's card is void.
Yeah. And comparing her to Hillary Clinton, she would definitely be a much harder candidate to beat. It would take a lot of shrewdness. But I mean, look at these guys. I mean, she was the sideline. She was the sidekick for a criminal, a right out criminal administration. And you can't just wash away that in a campaign like that. I mean, there is so much criminality connected with Obama. You can't just take that away and she comes out smelling fresh like roses. It's not impossible. And remember, things are happening in the curtains. I am the last one to say trust the plan and all that BS, but there are things cooking in the wings that we just get a whiff of. And I think that if God willing, these things come to fruition between now and the 2020 election, oh boy, the Democrats, they will have a really hard time getting anywhere near presidency.
Well, I hope so. And again, I'm just, I'm not one of those go with the plan people either. I think we're going to have to fight for everything that we have. And I think we're one lost election away from losing it all forever. That's what I feel.
That's the scary thing. I mean, there are no room for errors in the time between now and the next election. I mean, the many next elections need to be secured by the conservatives. I won't say the Republican Party, because the Republican Party is rotten to the core, and half the time they don't know which party they're in.
Oh, you're absolutely.
I'm talking about God-fearing, America-loving conservatives. Those are the guys that need to carry this through to the finish. And you're absolutely right, Hutch. It is. I see. It would be a disaster beyond imagination if the Democrats win any kind of election for the next decade.
They're already starting to rewrite election rules in the House.
Oh, yeah.
So, it is. I just want everybody. I don't want you to lose your bearings of where we are. This is where we are.
I do, based on your theme, believe that he's here to stay for a while, maybe through a few primaries, but he is not going to be the nominee.
As I've mentioned before, Victor, Donald Trump is not the Republican nominee.
Now there's this Trump thing going on, I gather. He's doing okay in the polls for a while, but he's not going to be the nominee either. So we'll be fine.
Well, I don't think it's likely that Donald Trump will be the nominee, but it's obviously too early to tell. I would vote for the nominee of the Republican Party, and I don't believe that's going to be Donald Trump.
Can he win the nomination?
Well, sure he can. I mean, you can make a case that probably 6 or 7 people can make the nomination. Do I think it's likely? No.
The only thing is Donald Trump hasn't won this nomination. The majority of Republicans.
So anyway, my point is anything can happen, and that woman has a following that's different. It's not an intellectual following. Anyway, enough on her. I just I thought of that when I was driving today, and it's like, man, these other Democrats are going to be mad because all she has to do is push the button.
Yeah, and it's money down the drain for them. So
yeah.
I mean, they can just kiss any chances goodbye. I mean, and it would be an expensive trip just to secure some other positions. So
that's true. Yeah. There's a governor in Massachusetts, Norway, that back during the Boston Marathon bombing, there was a mosque, an Islamic center, that was highlighted during that fake investigation. And there seems to be some type of link between this Republican governor and this mosque.
Yeah, I mean, and this is Amy Meck again. I would urge people to. She is a fighter. She is a young female Jewish American, and she is really prolific on Twitter whenever they allow her. Her handle is @Amy Meck, MEK. And I got this tip through her, and I was like, my jaw dropped. I started looking into this, and actually Friday, February 1st, Massachusetts Republican Governor Charlie Baker visited this aforementioned mosque, and it beggars belief. What is going on? I mean, like I said, when we talked about Michelle Obama and presidential race, the Republican Party, they have completely lost their sense of history, their sense of purpose, when they are actively supporting these organizations and centers of terror in America.
It's horrible. I mean, there's if you go to the research room on steelcityresistance.com, you'll see, and it's marked in green, by the way, you'll see a mosque locator. You need to know where these places are, ladies and gentlemen. They're not churches. That's just the way it is. So the Republican Party getting mixed up in this, it's as bad as Bush. George W. Bush was one of the worst.
Yeah, absolutely. Right after 9/11, the buddies from CARE whispering, the Muslim Brotherhood whispering him in the ear,
Suhail Khan.
Suhail Khan and those guys.
Muhammad Ali Biari.
They were playing the president like a puppet.
Absolutely.
It was It was a presidential Muppet show. Absolutely horrible watching. And the president of the United States, the day after that very same ideology strikes in the heart of the United States, he goes in front of the camera saying, it's such a peaceful religion. First of all, it's not a religion. It's an ideology. I mean, 5% of it can be defined as a religion, but the 95 other percent, that's a political ideology. And I'm referencing here a good friend, Dr. Bill Warner. He has a doctorate in mathematics, and he has done a statistical analysis on the Meccan Quran, the Medinan Quran, Sirah, and the Hadith. And, these idiots in the Republican Party that think this is a religion like Judaism, like Christianity, they need to start to read, they need learning what is behind this. And I mean, when you look at the amount of text in the Quran, Sirah, and Hadiths that are devoted to the kafir, that is you and me, Hutch, that is all the infidels. It is a staggering amount. I mean, you have a so-called holy book, the Quran, talking about 64% of the text in the Quran is about how to treat the non-believers.
And they even have taxes.
Well, let me say this.
The Hadiths, 37% of those taxes.
The first thing you got to do is you got to study and understand who you're up against. And you must realize that this is not a religion that you're fighting against. You're fighting against a theopolitical belief system and construct. You're fighting against something that's been doing this thing since 622 AD, 7th century, 1,388 years. You want to dig up Charles Martel and ask him why he was fighting the Muslim army at the Battle of Tours in 732. You want to ask the Venetian fleet at Lepanto why they were fighting a Muslim fleet in 1571. You want to ask the Christian, the Germanic and Austrian knights why they were fighting at the gates of Vienna in 1683. You want to ask people what happened in Constantinople and why today is called Istanbul, because they lost that fight in 1453. You need to get into the Quran. You need to understand their precepts. You need to read the Surah. You need to read the Hadiths. And then you can really understand this is not a perversion. They are doing exactly what this book says.
So there you go, ladies and gentlemen. Just a reminder from a great guy, Alan West. Let's shift gears a little bit, and I want to go to the culture just for a second. I said earlier that we had the Grammys. Well, there's a rapper named Drake who won an award, and he came up on stage, and he started making a pretty humanitarian, down-to-earth speech, and it basically is telling young people you don't need to be in the Grammy. You don't need an award show to succeed. And if you listen at the end, listen how abruptly his audio stops because they cut his mic.
Man, it's like the first time in Grammys history where I actually am who I thought I was for a second. So I like that. That's really nice. I definitely did not think I was winning anything. My brother's here. I want to take this opportunity while I'm up here to just talk to all the kids that are watching this, that are aspiring to do music, all my peers that make music from their heart, that do things pure and tell the truth. I want to let you know we play in an opinion-based sport. Not a factual-based sport. So it's not the NBA where at the end of the year you're holding a trophy because you made the right decisions or won the games. This is a business where sometimes, it's up to a bunch of people that might not understand, what a mixed race kid from Canada has to say, or a fly Spanish girl from New York, or anybody else, or a brother from Houston right there, my brother Travis. But look, the point is, you've already won if you have people who are singing your songs word for word. If you're a hero in your hometown, Look, if there's people who have regular jobs who are coming out in the rain, in the snow, spending their hard-earned money to buy tickets to come to your shows, you don't need this right here. I promise you. You already won.
And then they cut his mic. But I just thought, especially, and I'm going to get into this a little bit later, a United States problem that we have here with the National Football League and with NBA stars and a lot of rappers. But now you have this guy that comes out and he's sounding, a little intelligent. It's somebody that, pull yourself up by your bootstraps. You don't need somebody else to approve, Norway.
No, I mean, what he said made a lot of sense, but I mean, I think it's kind of brutal that they cut his mic and cut away the cameras. That is, that is a socialist. That is a socialist show. That is a socialist TV. Any other opinion than their own is not acceptable, and you can just cut that away. Absolutely horrible.
Right, and he'll probably get who knows? He might get have some people ban him or whatever they do. His name's Drake, though. I don't know anything about the guy. I just came across the clip and I listened to it. I watched it, and it sounded good, so I thought I would share it because most of the news that we get from that industry is not good, unfortunately, so it's nice to see something good. Now back to the bad. There was an angel dad that came on to Fox and Friends, and they interviewed him, and I want you to, you can just feel the emotion in this man's voice as he's talking, and I can't imagine, especially the part when they realize the condition of their daughter.
After he was deported, and had he been turned over to ICE, this may never have happened to your family. What are you going to tell the president tonight? Because he's going to pull you aside. You're going to have a conversation.
I hope so. I'd like to do a shout out to President Trump because I'm 100% behind him on his deal on the wall and securing the border. He also needs to look at cutting off all the money for sanctuary cities because all that does is let these illegal aliens back into our society to commit more crimes. And I know President Trump has looked into the eyes of angel dads and angel moms like me. He knows the pain. He knows the hurt that we've gone through. He knows the suffering that is being caused to the American citizens. My question for the House and Congress is, my daughter was hit and she was so badly hurt that they wouldn't even let my wife and I identify the body. Her legs were broken in 8 different places. She's had 5 skull fractures. She had 10 broken ribs and a punctured lung. She died at the scene. That's something that I have to live with and my family has to live with every day. If Miss Pelosi and Mr. Schumer's daughter or son were hit and killed by an illegal alien, I can guarantee you that funding would have been there months ago for this wall and security for our border.
But Beto O'Rourke doesn't see it that way. He's having a rival rally in a march.
Yeah, Beto, it's funny because he's a representative of the El Paso area. He has yet called out to me. Ms. Escobar has yet called out to me. They don't mention anything about the protection of the American citizens here, but they advocate the rights of all these illegal aliens.
Dan, you told our producers Amanda was a 28-year-old teacher, a wife, my world, my baby girl, and the glue that held our family together. We're remembering your family. I'm sorry you're going through this. God bless you.
Well, thank you very much.
So tough stuff. I mean, these human stories are starting to hit, and you're seeing more and more outbreaks of disease in these concentration of these peasants that we're bringing into the United States. I wonder if there's ever going to be any pushback from parents like this guy. I mean, this should get a lot of attention, and it doesn't seem to be.
Yeah, he said something that I've been pondering on for the past few hours here. He said that if Pelosi or Schumer's child was hit and killed, the funding for the wall would have been there months ago. I don't know. I don't know if that is a fact, because when you look at the Democratic Party, how radical it has become. It is the Communist Party USA today. And the only way they can win is by replacing the American population. So, and the only way they can do that is keeping the borders open. So I don't know. I'm not sure if he's right on that point, but I mean, my heart really goes out to this dad, because when you hear about his daughter being slaughtered in this totally senseless, meaningless way, it is heartbreaking. And the President Donald Trump, he has been meeting with these angel moms and angel dads. He has looked them in their eyes while they told their story, and he knows what this is about. But I don't know if the Democrats, I don't know if they have a heart anymore, because they seem to be okay with this.
Yeah, I mean, they are heartless, that's for sure. Whether or not they would protect their own family, maybe they wouldn't. I don't know. Maybe they hate this country that much. But guess what? Trump's approval rating has hit 52%, a 9-point jump in 10 days. And I know this can go back and forth, but I think he really connected at that State of the Union address and going forward. I mean, he's in El Paso tonight. Unfortunately, I'm going to miss that live, but I'll watch it. I think Beto has about 500 people. Can you imagine a counter protest on a border wall? A U.S. politician rallying people up to let illegals in the country. It's unreal. That's the part I don't get. As a matter of fact, I'm pretty damn surprised and proud of the pushback against Omar Ilwan. I mean, she's getting hammered from all sides. I mean, I know half of it's phony and it's cover, but some of the leaders in the House, like Steve Scalise, are really feeling their oats. I mean, they're telling Pelosi, take her off the Foreign Affairs Committee.
Yeah, I mean, it is, you know, there is one positive thing about these up in your face radicals, and it is that they are actually telling you exactly what they're
hugely
thinking.
Positive.
They're not
hugely positive.
Yeah, I mean, you can't get more frank than that. They are telling you exactly what they want to do with America, and they want to turn America into another nation, whether it be a communist nation or an Islamic nation. But that is their dream, and they're up in your face about it. And I think that is what gets to the old timers in the Democratic Party in Congress. I think that because they have a long game running, you know, they have way of injecting communism into America so slowly that people won't wake up to it until it's too late. And these guys, you know, La Cucaracha, Ilhan Omar, and Rashida Tlaib, they are they're destroying their long-term plan. I mean,
and we have to make sure
and say, wait a minute,
we got to make sure that they drag the rest of them with them. We need to make sure that we attach Andre Carson to that group, Keith Ellison to that group, all the rest of these Muslims, James Brennan, you know,
absolutely,
all of them.
Absolutely. It is the Democrat Party of today. I mean, when you start looking at who is the more conservative vote or who is the more liberal vote, I've had a lot of fun with the statistics they made over at Conservative Review /scorecard. You can look up the various candidates there. But I mean, you don't have a Democrat senator that comes. They're in the 20%.
Yeah.
That is like top score. A Liberty score of 20%. That is like a top score for a Democrat.
I had to tell my son
how communist they've become in that party.
I had to tell my son as he's getting older and he's starting to take politics more seriously. I said, no. I said you have to look at this. You can't look at this the way I did. You'll waste too many years. You got to look at this as these are the enemy, and these are damn sure close to the enemy. You know, there's no goodness in any congressman. There's a couple standouts, but there's not very many. And certainly the Republican Party is not the identifier of somebody that's good. That's for sure. If we didn't learn anything else, we learned that.
Yeah, like you say there. I mean, in the Freedom Caucus, there are some good guys, but I mean, look at those few heads that are, working their butts off trying to expose how bad things have gotten, and look at the overwhelming odds they have against them. First of all, you'll practically never see them on TV unless they come have a really outrageous radical statement, and they're not asked to give any keynote speeches at any GOP rallies. So, I mean, it's a losing battle. I think conservatives need to rethink the entire strategy, how to use their money and resources in order to promote their candidates, the right candidates.
And is there a way for us to have an interim period? Because I think Norway, until you at the very minimum disrupt the national established Republican Party, nothing is ever going to change dramatically. So you have to have a new start. And you just wonder, and it's not for this show, but you wonder, is a third party or a replacement party viable? How long would it take? And do we have an interim period that we could have candidates that would float the country until they get in power? Because this Republican Party, what is Pat Toomey and Ben Sasse doing right now? You know what they're doing? They're crafting legislation to keep the President of the United States from issuing tariffs. That's what Republican Senator Pat Toomey, Pennsylvania, and Ben Sasse from Nebraska are doing right now. You know, that's seditious. I just heard today in Alabama, U.S. Steel, because U.S. Steel is from Pittsburgh, I follow it. They're opening a tubular electric arc steel mill. They're reopening it in Alabama, and it's going to be like 750 new jobs. You know, it's because of the tariffs. The guy from U.S. Steel said in the statement that it was because China can't dump junk steel here anymore. You know, and you have Pat Toomey, you know, that guy, if ever there was a person that needed to be primaried, it's actually both of those two. Yeah. Ben Sasse and Pat Toomey. They're worthless.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, absolutely. And like you're absolutely right when you say this is seditious. I mean, look at how badly how far America had driven into the communist ditch.
Yeah.
And then you have a man, he could have, taken a permanent vacation for the rest of his life in a gated community, living off his billions of dollars, living a fantastic life, globe-trotting, doing whatever he wanted. But instead, he stepped up to have his character dragged through the mud by media, by leftist politicians, and these GOPers. And the man, he has virtually, not virtually, the man, Donald J. Trump, has saved America from annihilation.
Absolutely.
And that's a fact.
I agree, 100%. I mean, the only person that got treated like him.
Congressmen like Ben Sasse and Pat Toomey, what they are doing, it is treasonous.
Yeah, it's bad. There's no question. And you know, you look at other presidents. There's only really one that got treated this way, and that was Abraham Lincoln. They had to sneak him in for the inauguration.
Yeah. Brilliant example.
Now you're going to see Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez thinks that she's running something, but baby, you ain't running nothing. You're going to get eaten up and spit out. New York Democrats can eliminate radical socialist Ocasio-Cortez's district after 2020. You think they might? They did it to Allen West. The Republicans did. She's an undesirable. They're going to take her out.
Yeah, I see that the most determined adversaries are not the partisan Republicans, but actually her fellow Democrats.
Yeah.
Who say that she has been a disruptive influence. And yes, she is a disruptive influence because they need to inject communism so slowly into the veins of American society that it isn't discovered. And she is already spilling the guts about what the future of America will look like if these billionaires, she is not in that class yet, but she will be. She is from a gated community. I mean, she is a well-off lady trying to pass herself off as a New York poor mouth.
That's right.
And it's not. But she is spilling the guts on what the plan for America is, and the plan is to rob America blind.
It's the old adage with the pig in the pot. You know, the pigs in the pot or the chickens in the pot of cold water, and you light the fire under him, and he's good for a while. He's even damn right comfortable for a little while. But then it starts boiling. And guess what?
Yeah.
You know, and you can see all the old heads that are against her are the ones that know what they're doing.
Yes, and La Cucaracha here, she is that boiling water. I mean, that frog is going to jump out as soon as he hits the water, and I mean that is what we're seeing now, and it's got the old timer slow injection communists running scared, you know.
And let's listen to one of those communists that knows the deal. It's kind of comical as he explains what socialism is. If you're a senior citizen, you ought to be terrified. This is Democrat Senator Jeff Merkley.
The president last night also called out some of the more liberal members of your party. And this is going to be really important, Senator, given what we've seen so far in this pre-primary season. Let me replay what he said.
We are alarmed by the new calls to adopt socialism in our country. America was founded on liberty and independence, and not government coercion, domination, and control. Tonight, we renew our resolve that America will never be a socialist country.
Do you agree, Senator? At the bottom line, America should never be a socialist country.
You know, the president started out by saying he was going to be bipartisan, want to bring people together, but he just couldn't restrain himself from going into campaign mode. And certainly we heard Paul Ryan, when he was speaker, say, hey, now that we've won this big tax giveaway to the richest Americans, we have to dismantle these social programs. We have to dismantle Medicare or tone it down. We have to diminish Social Security, these what they refer to as entitlements. I call them programs earned and very smart programs for our seniors. And I support those. And the president wants to tear those apart. I think he's making a big mistake for the quality of life in America. And I think people are going to
you don't
respond.
see that as socialism, right? I mean, in terms of the word, obviously, it's a word of significance.
Well, it is a society coming together to increase the standard of living of our seniors. And that is pretty much the definition. And the president's attacking it.
Socialism is a system to increase the standard of living of senior citizens. My God. But you know, CNN, that's CNN, and they believe that. I mean, It's uncanny, the amount of stupid attached to these people.
Yeah, I just got one question for Jeff Merkley here. How many senior citizens are there left in Venezuela?
Right.
They don't live that long.
That's right. That's a fact. Now, I don't know what Hillary Clinton, what circle she's running in, but she was recently on a program called The Circus, which was on Showtime. And it looks like a group of about, in the camera shot, maybe 7 or 8 people. They're in a room. It looks like they're standing in a hall. And this animated reporter is moving around, and she's interviewing convict Clinton. And she's like standing behind it. It's real nickel and dime stuff. But I want you to listen on her analysis of the illegal immigration situation and what's going on at the border.
There's going to be a new attorney general confirmed in a matter of days, weeks. There's a lot of consternation from Democrats about whether the findings of the Mueller report are going to see daylight. Are you worried about it when you look at the landscape?
I think that anyone in a position of responsibility has a duty to keep the American people informed.
Right.
And I would expect that duty to be fulfilled. And if there is a report, that report should be sent to the Congress and made public.
The president might call a national emergency in the next 2 weeks. If you were calling a national emergency on any topic, what would it be? Where should we be most focused right now?
I just don't think you should call national emergencies unless there truly is a national emergency. There's no national emergency at our border. And he's frustrated because he can't even convince his own party to support his requests. And he shouldn't be breaking new ground and causing new precedents that, really could come back to not only haunt him, but haunt our country. So he should go through regular order. He couldn't get Congress when he had Republican control. If he can't get it now, then work with Congress. Every Democrat, every Republican wants to do what is right to secure our border. They disagree with his demand that there's only one way to do that.
So she's relegated to Showtime and some closet or outside the men's room or wherever they were. I shudder at the thought of that woman, and I especially shudder at the thought, you think the Obamas were criminals. They were nothing compared to the Clintons. The Clintons have been criminals for 40 years. Obama just got started.
Yeah, the Clintons, they are criminal beyond belief, and it is absolutely... It beggars belief that they are not behind bars. But this is what was this an example of? This Showtime show. It is a program under CBS, which is one of the 6 major media companies running over 90% of American media. And they are so in cahoots with each other. It hurts. What we need is some big donors coming together, starting up a new media company that is, in line with the people, in line with Donald Trump, and get these criminals behind bars.
And don't do it like Newsmax. Don't go in there with webcams or whatever the heck you guys are using. Oh, my God. I tried to watch Bill O'Reilly the other night, and his head took up 3/4 of my TV. You couldn't read the captions or nothing. I was like, how am I supposed to watch this? I'll give you a break, put it in black and white, but make it HD.
Yeah.
You're going to do it, you got to do it right, ladies and gentlemen.
I know there's a guy in Pittsburgh that is ready, able, and willing to take your millions and billions to turn that into something viable. So,
I promise you one thing, it'll be radio, and it won't be between 12 and 3. Because that's Rush Limbaugh's area. I ain't messing with that. But maybe at 3 in the morning or something, who knows? All right, so at least, the good part about that is she's relegated to a show called The Circus, and anybody that's watching Showtime is not doing so to watch Hillary Clinton. So nobody probably saw it. But at any rate, your point was well made, though. We got a big army against us, and we need to start tooling up our side a little bit better. You can't beat tanks with spears.
Absolutely.
But speaking of AOC, that was quick. Or not AOC, Ilhan Omar from Little Mogadishu outside of Minneapolis, St. Paul in Minnesota. Minnesota, what's up with you? Sending these people over here. Ay, ay, ay. She wants to defend the Department of Homeland Security. Defund, rather. I'm sorry. She wants to defund DHS. This is a representative, a congresswoman. And by the way, congresswoman, take off your damn hat. I stun you.
Absolutely. No, I'm just sitting here shaking my head. This hack, she wanted to defund ICE, Immigration and Customs Enforcement. Now she wants to defund the Department of Homeland Security. And this is a Somalian lawmaker, which is a contradiction in terms.
Right. One of Keith Ellison's
Somalian lawmaker. Have you ever heard about the Somalian law? They don't have laws in Somalia.
Right.
They have the Quran
and Qat. They have Qat.
Sharia and Qat. There you go.
What a party!
What a party! And I absolutely agree with you, Hutch. I think that law in Congress has stood for 181 years or something like that. Even Orthodox Jewish men, out of respect for the U.S. Congress, have removed their headwear when they've entered the halls of Congress, but not the Somalian Muslim lawmaker Ilhan Omar.
She's always angry. I wonder if she had that pursuit. Let's not go there. On MSNBC, on Sunday's Morning Joy, there was a guest named Tiffany Cross of The Beat, D.C., and she doesn't really like us. I mean, I've never... This is on a network, again, MSNBC. I think that's General Electric. It might not be. But at any rate, I want you to see, first of all, understand that 67 million Americans voted for President Donald Trump, and that's conservative, because there's no doubt in my mind that some votes were suppressed. Also keep in mind that most of those people have children. So it's really more than 67 million. But this is what MSNBC feels is gifted analysis on the current political situation.
Fox News before, and the problem is he's going on with a half-witted host who has an audience full of half-witted people who have no interest in truth.
All right, let me set that up a little bit better. This is she is talking about Laura Ingraham and Donald J. Trump.
Fox News before, and the problem is he's going on with a half-witted host who has an audience full of half-witted people who have no interest in truth or facts. The real national emergency here is, Joy, a sea full of ignorant red MAGA hats who have no type of intellectual curiosity about any of these things, and they will take this president's word even when it's at their own peril, even when it destroys the country they claim to love so much, even when it devastates children they claim to want to protect, even when it runs contrary to a God they claim to serve. The data you just showed shows that the violent crimes in El Paso went down from 1993 to 2006. The data just doesn't support his claims. There was a brief peak in violence in El Paso after 2008, which is when they started constructing a barrier between these between the border. So there's nothing that supports this president's lies. It's just a bunch of people who have no interest in truth. They are fact averse.
You know, they put all these pretty words up there, and it's just it's embarrassing to me that so many people buy this horse dung that's being sold. If you go to Steel City Resistance and the Cold War Radio Show video clips page, I'm looking at this, and I got to put some other pages back up. But anyway, you can see them put a graph up when she starts talking about the violence in El Paso. And there's a flat line, and then it goes up for a year or so, and then it comes back down to the flat line. But guess where the flat line is, Norway? 3,000. And I don't know if they were talking about murders or just violent acts, but 3,000 is okay, apparently. And the American people are too stupid to look at that graph and see that the bottom is not 0, it's 3,000.
Absolutely. I haven't seen that video, but that is absolutely... they say there are three types of lies. You have the white lie, you have the black lie, and you have statistics. And I mean, everyone that's studied statistics in either in high school or college know that you can tilt a graph any way you want, and you can make it look big or small depending on what you need. And don't believe for a second that these guys won't do it, because they do it all the time. So look behind the numbers, ladies and gentlemen. Be your own media research organization. Go to the Daily Caller, Breitbart. Go to news organizations like that and get the real take on the news. Don't be lazy. Don't be complacent, and just turn on the first and best channel you've got on your cable TV, because they are lying to you 24/7, 365.
And make sure that you bookmark Cold War Radio and make us part of your life. If you can't do it live, there's plenty of places to get the podcast. Also, WHBJ Digital Talk. Not as much traffic on there as I wanted this weekend, but there was some. We play 7 days a week, ladies and gentlemen, starting at the latest 8 p.m. Every night. And we've got a lineup for you. It's not complete yet because this is still in beta testing. Not even sure if it's going to be viable, but we're going to keep it going for a couple more weeks. But there is a programming schedule that's under construction there that'll show you a little bit about what's going on. But we've got some good shows. So please don't just stop by on Mondays, Wednesdays, and Thursdays. We're here Tuesdays, Mondays, Wednesdays, and Fridays. We're here Tuesdays, Thursdays, Saturdays, and Sundays as well. If anybody is interested in doing a show, let me know at hutch@steelcityresistance.com, and we will go from there. All subject matter is open. It's not there's going to be a lot of conservative content, but the station itself is digital talk. Anything you want to talk about, you run it by me and we'll see. And I'm pretty liberal when it goes to subject matter. If you need a producer, we can talk about that too. So really, all you need is a microphone and a set of headphones, and we'll go from there. All right, that being said, ladies and gentlemen, you're listening to Cold War Radio with Hutch Bailey Jr. in Pittsburgh, Norway, out of the servers of Reykjavik. We're going to give you a little break here, but make sure you come back. And that way I can say, don't go anywhere. We'll be right back. Cold War Radio.
She told me her name was Stacy. She lives in D.C. She said, excuse me, but can you please pay my rent? I cannot afford my apartment. Come on, girl. She started talking about politics like a socialist. Been for too long, it puts on me, yes, this chick is nuts. She probably rides on the short bus.
Ask members on both sides of the aisle to make those questions clear for the record so we know what must be addressed at the future proceeding. Now, in your capacity as Acting Attorney General, Have you ever been asked to approve any request or action to be taken by the special counsel?
Mr. Chairman, I see that your 5 minutes is up, and so I'm here voluntarily. We have agreed to 5-minute rounds, and
the committee.
I think that's a fine place to end the 5-minute rule.
The committee will come to order. I will point out that we didn't enforce the 5-minute rule on Acting Attorney General Whitaker. We will.
I understand, Mr. Chairman. I was just saying that might be a good breaking point at that point.
Railing against the demands. I'm Lisa Lacera, Fox News. As time runs out for a deal on border security, President Trump again rapping Democrats for the lack of funding for a border wall and saying
the Democrats want them to go into our country. That's why they don't want to give us what we call the beds. It's much more complicated than beds, but we call them the beds.
Border security negotiations stalled over the weekend over Democrats' demands to limit the number of migrants who federal authorities can detain. House Democratic leader Steny Hoyer calling for a deal.
We need to fund the government. We must not shut down the government. Contrary to what Mr. Mulvaney said, shutting down the government ought not to be an option. But we want to see an agreement reached.
Hoyer on Fox's Your World with Neil Cavuto. This as federal law enforcement officials address the National Sheriff's Association about their concerns about the flow of migrants into the U.S. Fox's Gernal Scott has this live.
Lisa, in her comments to the sheriff, Secretary Kirstjen Nielsen cited the ongoing debate and how it could impact the safety of Americans. She says the sheriffs have spoken up about a sticking point in the border security debate in Congress.
You wrote that, quote, capping the number of detention beds utilized by ICE not only jeopardizes the integrity of the immigration system, but would cripple ICE's ability to detain criminal aliens.
The sheriffs also heard from Acting Attorney General Matthew Whitaker in his final days on the job as he praised local law enforcement for their work with federal agents to secure the border, Lisa.
Gernal, House Democrat says she's sorry after tweets that some consider anti-Semitic.
Minnesota Democrat Ilhan Omar is unequivocally apologizing after being criticized by top House Democrats, including Speaker Nancy Pelosi, for comments made about pro-Israel lobbying. In a tweet, Omar, one of 2 Muslim women elected to Congress last year, responded with all about the Benjamins to a comment about U.S. lawmakers' defense of Israel.
Fox's Jared Halpern on Capitol Hill. This is Fox News. The case against a Chicago police officer convicted in the shooting death of a teenager may not be over.
Illinois Attorney General Kwame Raoul filed a petition to the state Supreme Court challenging Jason Van Dyke's sentence of less than 7 years in prison on second-degree murder in the 2014 killing of drugged burglary suspect Laquan McDonald,
rather than his convictions on 16 counts of aggravated battery with a firearm.
The defense wanted probation.
The law is clear, and the judge complied with the law when he sentenced Mr. Van Dyke to second-degree murder.
Van Dyke attorney Jennifer Blagg calling the latest move nothing more than politics. In Chicago, Jeff Manasso, Fox News.
Private investigators working for Amazon CEO Jeff Bezos have determined the brother of his mistress leaked the couple's personal text messages to the National Enquirer. That's according to a person familiar with the matter who spoke with the Associated Press. An NHL team forced to scrap practice due to a reported gas leak near their arena.
The Columbus Division of Fire responding to reports Monday morning of a gas leak that led to evacuations at Nationwide Arena and other buildings in the Ohio capital city. Officials say people walking near the home venue of the Columbus Blue Jackets had reported smelling gas near one of the arena's loading docks. This also led to a few road closures in downtown Columbus. The possible leak led the Blue Jackets to cancel practice Monday, rescheduled to a morning skate on Tuesday prior to Columbus's game against the Washington Capitals later that night. Matt Napolitano, Fox News.
The 5th season of the PBS series Finding Your Roots will feature such diverse subjects like former House Speaker Paul Ryan and Game of Thrones author George R.R. Martin. The series takes advantage of new advancements in genealogy and genetics to look into the history of American celebrities. Dr. Henry Louis Gates of Harvard University says investigators were able to locate some of Ryan's ancestors to Germany back to 1531. I'm Lisa Lacera, and this is Fox News.
I just think he ought to be honest with the American people and try to win as the real Mitt Romney.
Meet the real Mitt Romney.
Who is the real Romney?
No one really knows who the real Mitt Romney is.
He's an enigma, and he's a dad and a family man.
Who is the real Romney?
Ladies and gentlemen, the President of the United States.
Can I have your attention, please? Can I have your attention, please? Will the real Mitt Romney please stand up? I repeat, will the real Mitt Romney please stand up? We're going to have a problem here.
Y'all act like you haven't seen a Mormon before. George, down on the floor. I'm not concerned about the very poor. Got it wrong. Sorry, that's not what I meant. I want every American to be in the top 1%. I'm really named Willard. That's my first name. I'm not looking for a colony on the moon, just for someone to blame. I like being able to fire people.
I'm Newt Gingrich.
You're fired.
I'm Rick Santorum, and I'm fired.
Boom, boom, boom.
Conservative women love Mitt Romney.
And I love cars. I love lakes. I'm running for office, for Pete's sake. With regards to abortion, pro-life, pro-choice, I firmly believe in my own singing voice. For purple mountains' majesty above the fruited plain.
Where are we at, John?
With regards to abortion, you can choose your own adventure. It's a Republican dimension. And I'm more concerned about the banks. They're unable to lend. Corporations are people, my friend. My dog is on the...
Yeah, I really don't like that guy, in case you didn't notice. And I'll point it out every chance I get. I really think, I honestly believe that our battle, we already know who the enemy is on the other side. Now we need to take care of the people inside the wire. And the real Mitt Romney is one of those people, along with Pennsylvania Senator Pat Toomey. Ladies and gentlemen, I want to bring a story to you. It's kind of when all other things fail, the free market usually works. I have a story that I don't normally cover things like this, but I have to say that with Colin Kaepernick, he took a piece out of so many people like me. He took a piece out of our life when he started to destroy the NFL. In Norway, the only thing I can equate that to in Europe is soccer. I mean, I don't know if you have a love of soccer in Norway and your team and all that, but in the United States, the NFL was something that was, you didn't mess with it. And we have these people now that are trying to wreck, just like they wreck everything else, just like the liberals wreck every single thing, the Miss America pageant. I mean, everything. Everything they touch, the Boy Scouts, the Girl Scouts, well, they're in the middle of doing it to the NFL, too. And I'm a Pittsburgh Steelers fan through and through. And maybe I'm going to put a link on the website to an article that I wrote concerning this about 10 years ago, probably about 8 years ago. But this story is about Antonio Brown. And Antonio Brown is one of the best wide receivers that the NFL has ever seen. This guy's probably 21 or 2, maybe. Antonio Brown might only be worth a 6th-round pick in a potential trade. This is from David Hookstead, a reporter for the Daily Caller. The Pittsburgh Steelers might not be able to get much for Antonio Brown if they decide to trade him. Brown and the Steelers have been openly feuding for seemingly months at this point, and the odds aren't great that he'll be back. Having said that, he's still one of the most electric players in the league. You'd think there'd be a lot of trade value for him. Well, that might not be the case at all. Pittsburgh Post-Gazette writer Ed Boucher wrote the following last week. When I asked one longtime NFL personnel man last week what he would give the Steelers for Brown if he were in a position to trade for him, he isn't. He said maybe a 6th-round draft pick. What? Okay, he replied, maybe a conditional 5th or 4th, depending on how he performs, and maybe if the team makes the playoffs. Do you hear the noise off in the distance? That's the sound of NFL experts listening to me. How many times have I said I wouldn't want Brown on my squad, despite how talented he is? The man is a massive distraction, and we already know he'll skip practices and games. Why would any team want to put up with that? If I'm a winning franchise, I'm not interested in bringing a diva into the locker room. Clearly, Brown is not just focused on winning football games, which should be the only thing on his mind. Any player not laser focused on football and only football isn't somebody I want on my roster. I don't care how talented he is. I really hope the Steelers weren't hoping to strike gold in a potential trade, because that doesn't sound like an option that's on the table. Hat tip to Bro Bible. Norway, I know this isn't something normal that I'd use on the program, but I think that this is a cultural issue, that these people are they feel like such dependence, like they're entitled to millions and millions of dollars. This goes back to Drake when he was talking about his fans. And when he said people spend their hard-earned money to come out in the cold, well, what do you think football fans are? I'm sitting in a city of 300,000 people that can't afford anything, and we subsidize the stadium, and we put up with that in order for our team to come out and fight hard for 60 minutes and do everything that they're supposed to do before that in conditioning and practice. And you got a guy like this that has natural God-given talent that missed the last game of the season just because he wanted to. I hope he goes broke, and I hope anybody else that follows down this path, including Colin Kaepernick, and anybody who beats their wives or their girlfriends or anything else, or misses child care payments, child support payments, I hope you people are homeless. You have an opportunity that people would give their limbs for, and you put it right back in their face. I had to do it, Norway.
No, I understand the frustration, and I think that the story goes deeper than just football. I think that
it does.
This is actually at the root of problem with the youth we see today, and how this is again a failure of education.
It is.
This is a failure of education, and you already gave the answer to why we are seeing this. And the answer is entitlement.
Yeah.
This is a generation where everybody feels they're entitled to something.
And a lot of it has to do with fatherlessness. Because, because when you don't have a dad, you have a poor mom trying to keep everything together, and she's going to give the kids everything that they want just to keep them quiet. It's what they do.
Yeah. But I also think that it has to do with a failed school system where just showing up earns you a medal. That is the wrong way around. I mean, people are gifted in various areas, and when you put those gifts into action and actually use your gifts, whether you discover something groundbreaking in physics or biology, or you actually put your talent to use in football, then you're entitled to the accolades that go with it, but not beyond that. And
with respect.
And with respect, exactly. And I think that that story with the rap songer we had earlier,
Drake.
Drake, yeah. I think that what he said, it is so sharply focused on this that I mean, this is a guy you get a feeling that, and he said that, look, if there's people who have regular jobs who are coming out in the rain, in the snow, spending their hard-earned money to buy tickets to come to your show, you don't need this right here. And he pointed to this award he just received. I promise you, you already won. That's what it said.
Yeah.
And he that is so succinctly put that I don't think I could do any better than that. That is brilliant.
When's the last time you thought you would have heard a rap singer on this show? besides James Chief. I mean, you know.
Actually, yeah. Well, I to be honest, and this is probably displaying my cultural
your Europeanness.
Completely. No, I had never heard about Drake, but I looked
didn't
him
either.
up on YouTube and actually played him while I was in the hours I was preparing for the show, and I actually like it. I like his music, so yeah.
I don't know anything about the guy. I don't. Maybe I'll check it out too. I was afraid to. I'm thinking, oh man, he's a rap star that got a Grammy. Oh my God, white people aren't going to do good on this one. But
I liked his music.
I loved his ideas. I mean, he was right up there. Now I want to come back, and I'm looking at this content, and I'm not going to be able to give this justice. I'm going to have to figure out how to do this, but because I want to tell a story, a very important story in my opinion. What you mentioned, I was trying to equate how education could have maybe changed this guy, and I recalled going to my son's they don't even call it bring your dad to work, the school day. They call it bring your VIP to school because so few of the kids have dads. It's a shame in the city. It really is. But anyway, so I took him, and I was mobilized in the United States Army at the time, so I was in uniform. It was on my way to work. I was stopping in, and I was going to do the thing, and I was going to go to work. So I go to this gym class, and all it is mayhem. It was like a giant game of run from one wall and go to the other wall, and there was a female gym teacher there, and she was talking to me and just letting them run amok. And I'm thinking, this isn't like any kind of gym class I ever went to in the Pittsburgh public schools, and I did go there. When I was going to school, we had, and I've told this before, but it's critical, we had serious male role models in school when I was going to school. In other words, the gym teacher was a muscular, athletic type of guy that you did not mess with, or he'd slap you. And I'm not saying he went around slapping you, and maybe he never did, but you didn't know that. And it was basically like a military drill, like physical training. We lined up, and then I forget what they called it, but it was like double arm interval, and everybody screamed and went to double arm interval and then dropped their hands. It was military.
Yeah.
And then it was, uncover, and the second and third rank moved one step to the left or right, and we commenced to doing military calisthenics.
That brings. You're absolutely right. I mean, our gym teachers in elementary school, they were, like you say, they were mostly men, athletic build, and we had, it was close order drill practically. But we also, had really useful lessons like first aid and CPR. And actually, I got to use that on a man that was dying when I was 12. So I was, wow. I loved my gym teacher because he had, taken us through something useful in physical education. And then I came to high school. And one of my dad's friends, a colonel in the German brigade, became my gym teacher. And I thought it was military discipline in elementary school, but I'm telling you, that guy, he drove us like crazy. And I mean, it was almost slacking when we actually got into the army. So,
hey, I felt that same way because. When I went to Valley Forge Military Academy, that was on a whole completely different level. I mean, that was inside a gated community that nobody could see what they were doing to us. and we had to run. Oh, it was horrible, man. And some of the drilling ceremonies for that, I remember standing out there, and One of the things that soldiers, sailors, airmen, and Marines, well, maybe not airmen, maybe not Navy, no, maybe, but the Marines and the Army, we used to have to spit shine our shoes. Not in the air, not in the Army and the Marines. Now, there was times that spit shining your shoes was beneficial, but it was never required when I was in the Army. But at Valley Forge, it was required. It was the only way. Whether they were black shoes, boots, or brown shoes, they had to be spit shined. Or some upperclassman or NCO or officer was going to come over and they were going to step on your shoe and scruff it all the way out. Literally. And I remember standing out there with my M1903 Springfield doing, close order drill. And watching the wax on my shoes melt away and fade into a cloudy gray. I mean, that's a true story, man. I mean, wow.
Oh,
and I look at these kids now.
Yeah, we used to, in school, we had a competition with the sergeants that whoever had the best shoe shine on Monday morning got to command the other guys to do, 50 push-ups.
Nice.
And it was so, I have to admit flat out now that I actually, it was such a deadly competition between the guys that were enlisted, and the sergeant that I actually had my dad ship me my old drill across the country because I absolutely flatly refused to lose that competition. I mean, I used all the hours between Friday night when we were sent off and Monday morning. We were shining shoes. I mean,
it's amazing how shiny you can get them. It's amazing. Yeah. It's amazing how shiny you can get some leather, but it takes time.
I swear my boots, they are still shiny.
It takes time though. It's no quick thing.
No, layer upon layer upon layer.
The other thing they used to make us do too.
Spit polish.
You only had to do it once, but you had your cap, which I never knew the actual name of the cap. We call it like the bus driver cap or the policeman's hat with the little visor. And there was a shield that went on the front of this cap. And it was the symbol for the shield of Valley Forge Military Academy, their official shield. And you got it issued to you. But the key was in the first 6 weeks, you were what they called a plebe, which was nothing. Yeah. You were just a nothing. You were a trainee. And you had to wear this hat with no cap shield on it. But in the meantime, you had to take this cap shield and you had to shine it so much that the features on the brass came off. In other words, I'm talking 100 hours of shining.
Yeah.
And all the features are after time, especially if you cheat and use cardboard and get some heat going, you get rid of all those features, and it almost looks like a flat, cap shield with no features. Yeah. And they were proud of them. But and that's one of those stories I felt like sharing with the audience because normal people don't go through that kind of stuff.
Yeah, there you go.
Anyway, ladies and gentlemen, 412-206-6208. You're paying for the service. Might as well call in. We'll see what happens. But anyway, Monday Sentinel, I've got two really big stories here, and I'm contemplating which way to go. And I think what I'm going to do, Norway, is I think I am going to go and I am going to announce that in a couple of days here, let me see if I can get exactly proper, because okay, here we go. Yeah. Okay, today is February 11th. On February 14th, in 1989, Iran's supreme leader, Ayatollah Ruhollah Khomeini, called for British writer Salman Rushdie to be killed for writing the satanic verses, which the cleric said insulted Islam. And in a fatwa or religious decree, Khomeini urged Muslims of the world rapidly to execute the author and the publishers of the book so that no one will any longer dare to offend the sacred values of Islam. And one of the things that this started among a lot of people, this was after obviously 10 years after the Iran hostage crisis, but Americans still weren't putting two and two together. And then when this happened, it started getting a little bit more serious. Plus there was some CIA station chiefs that were executed by Hezbollah and Hamas. I forget exactly, the PLO and all this thing. And then earlier than that, in Lebanon, the Marines were murdered. So there's a lot of things that led up to this. But it was a day in history that marked, I think, an indelible mark in my mind of who the enemy of freedom-loving Christians, who the enemy is.
Absolutely. I mean, it went around the world with attacks. Salman Rushdie, he was immediately put under protection, and he actually lived like a prisoner, being moved from place to place constantly. I mean, I think it was 50, 60 different places he moved to during the first 6 months of his protective custody. And his Japanese translator was killed in 1991. His Italian translator was stabbed a few days later, and the Norwegian publisher William Nygaard, he was shot 2 years later. And there is no doubt in my mind that these were a result of the death fatwa that was the religious decree that was issued by Khomeini. There were a lot of killings around the world. Aziz Nesin, the writer, the Turkish writer that wanted to translate the novel, he escaped an attack on his hotel, but it left 37 people killed. And I was also involved in covering this book. This was a few years after the publication of the Satanic Verses of Salman Rushdie. And I did a radio essay in 4 parts regarding both Salman Rushdie's Satanic Verses, but also what Islam entailed. And we had a big mass rape case in Oslo at that time, and people didn't know what Islam was at that point, which. And it beggars belief that people still don't know what Islam is. I mean, do yourself a favor if you're listening to this program. Go out and buy the brilliant books by Dr. Bill Warner. You can find it at politicalislam.com. You can find all his books, and these are more booklets than books. I mean, these are 70, 80 pages long books. I mean, you can plow through that in an evening or two and actually get a grasp on what Islam is and how dangerous Islam is to the Western world. And everybody needs to get educated about this, and you need to tell your kids about this.
That's right. And
they are going to suffer for the neglect that people are showing today. And I mean, if you look at the U.S. Immigration Act of 1952, the McCarran-Walters Act, that act actually forbids Islam entering the United States because in Islam you have only one leader, and that is Allah, and the Ummah is the big thing in Islam. And that is definitely not the U.S. Congress or the President of the United States. That is a foreign entity. and that is the very reason that Muslims should be completely prohibited from inhabiting any land in America.
That's right. And the incidentally, is it's actually a term for everybody being Muslim, all the Muslims. The is the gradual obtaining of land and planting an Islamic flag on it, and the goal is the whole world. Make no mistake,
Absolutely.
Ladies and gentlemen.
And
Mark,
there is only one,
Mark, we'll get to you in just
one,
a second, sir. Just hang tight. Good.
Yeah. There is only one law in Islam, and that is the Sharia law.
Right.
And the Sharia law has nothing to do with the U.S. Constitution. It has nothing to do with American, with the various states in America and their legislation. The Sharia law is completely based on the Quran, the Hadith, and the Sirah, and it requires complete submission to Islam, and that is completely antithetical to the U.S. government.
And they have taxes.
And to their republic.
They have taxes for you, too. They have the jizya for all of the wonderful dhimmis. But, just to wrap this Rushdie thing up, and I told you we weren't going to be able to do justice to it, but that's just the way the show is. Some other things happened with that. In October 1988, Indian Prime Minister Rajiv Gandhi banned the import of the book, hoping to win Muslim support ahead of elections. Some 20 countries went on to outlaw the book. In January 1989, Muslims in Britain's northern city of Bradford, burned copies in public. A month later, thousands of Pakistanis attacked the U.S. Information Center in Islamabad, shouting "American dogs" and "hang Salman Rushdie." Police opened fire, killing 5. Khomeini's fatwa provoked horror around the Western world. So that's anniversary's coming up in a couple days.
And it's one final point to this, which I find fascinating, and that is that Khomeini and Iran is a Shiite nation.
That's correct.
It is Shiite Islam, but still you saw Sunnis, which is the majority of Islam, which consists about 90% of Muslims are Sunni Muslims around the world. You saw them banding with the Shiites with the same kind of hatred against the West in their terror attacks around the world, blaming this book. So, they have these constant infightings in between themselves, but when push comes to shove, they band together like there is no tomorrow. And
unlike us, we're just not capable of doing that in this country. We used to be able to, but anymore the Republicans are trying to take each other out. The Democrats hate America. Let's go to Oregon and welcome Mark to the program. Good evening, Mark.
Salam alaikum. This is Ayatollah Schwartz.
What's on your mind?
Well, let me tell you something. I just got word that the Kurdish Muslims are going to declare their independence as a nation on March 20th of this year, 2019, in Jerusalem.
So are they representing now just to bring the audience up to date here, when we say the Kurdish people, we're talking about people that are living in northern Syria, in northern and eastern Iraq, in western Iran, and other places. Are they united in Turkey? Are they united in any way? This is the first I've heard of this. I'm interested.
Yes, Hutch. This goes back to conversation that we had back in 2011. If you'll recall, I brought a guy onto your show.
I do.
That represented the Kurds. Well, they have organized and formed a union over in Germany with an organization in the United States, a very grassroots organization, and an organization in Israel. And as I've mentioned before, the Kurdish Muslims love Israel. They've supported them undercover. The United States has supported them undercover. And yes, to answer your question, their homeland incorporates land that was divided up in the Turkish Empire, the Ottoman Empire, and also with a British mandate. So the advantage is tremendous to the United States. Think about this. We could have a bridge with Israel and Jordan, Kurdistan, down to Iraq, because we're not pulling out of Iraq apparently, that forms a union and a kind of a sickle to go against Russia's influence in Syria. Now, Turkey is better enemies of the Kurds, as is the Iraqis.
Mark, try to find some high ground. You're fading out. You still there?
Is that any better?
Yep.
Okay, good. So let me continue. They are going to declare independence in Israel, in Jerusalem, on the 20th of March. Now, I was going to leave to be there for the Independence Day celebration in May, but I'm going to my trip because I'd like to be in the middle of history, declare their.
Mark, I hate to do this, but you're breaking up, sir. I want to get this story, but we're not able to. I'm going to give you one more shot, and then we might have to have you back because I want to get this story for sure. And I also want to get re-linked up with either new people or I went back to try to re-invite the Kurdish National Congress head out of San Diego back on the program, but all the links were broken, so I don't know what happened there, but I absolutely want to continue this. Go ahead.
I've got connections with the highest levels of the Kurdish National Congress in Germany who announced this independence announcement will be made in Jerusalem, which is astounding. A Muslim country declaring independence in Israel.
Wow.
We're talking about something that's like biblical.
Yeah. Yeah, that's very interesting.
So I'm going to get that guy on. I'm going to interview him, and then you can throw me onto the show and I'll play the interview for you, and we can have a exclusive breaking news. But there's something else I want to tell you.
Okay.
I heard from a friend who is a driver for a nonprofit down in San Diego. I won't say what the organization is, but they're an NGO down in San Diego. He has been picking up asylum seekers from the government of the United States of America wearing ankle bracelets, given $100 a night for driving these people to safe houses. This is our own government. Now, I'm going to get him on an interview, on an anonymous interview. I know the guy. I worked with him. He's 100%, and I know the company that he's driving with. And this is astounding. We are paying NGOs to pick up people with ankle bracelets that are being released into the economy as asylum seekers, and maybe they'll show up and maybe not. But how can you track all those people with bracelets?
It's beyond words, Mark. I don't know what to say. I'm going to talk to you offline about all these things because
Hutch, all this stuff gets broken on the Hutch Bailey show because you know what? Your audience needs to know this and has an interest and understands the impact. So catch up with me the next time you get a chance. I know you're a busy guy, and we'll talk real soon.
I sure will. But before you go, Mark, before you go, say a little bit about the show that we play on Saturdays. It's a very interesting voyage let the people know what they're in for if they tune in to WHBJ at 8 o'clock on. Yours is usually around 9, but that evening anyway.
Well, I'll tell you something. I appreciate this so much because getting the word out, I mean, I started thinking about how hard I worked trying to get publishers interested and all these people, but Hutch Bailey had the foresight of realizing that this show is going to be a hit, that this podcast is important, and I think the reason it's working is because Max gave me the manuscript for nothing.
Right.
He sent it to me for nothing. So I'm giving his story out for free. Now, if they want exclusive photographs and maybe a couple extra, bonus things that aren't in the podcast, I'll save that for the book. But the book is going to be a short book. And I'm angling right now, this will blow your mind and everybody else's, especially Rocky and Marlene and John and Jude, Dan, everybody. So I'm in negotiations to get a movie made or like a Band of Brothers series done.
All right. Well, I just hope that you, I hope you remember us when that all happens. But
oh, dude, you're going to be in the movie. I got a great part for you. We need you to be the liaison between the government and Pan American.
All right.
Because, Pan American was taken over by MATS.
Okay.
The Military Air Transportation Commander system. So we need an actor that can handle the command and control of getting all this information from, intercepted radio broadcasts by the Japanese that got picked up across the Pacific. Eventually it got analyzed by the government, who sent it to Pan Am so the families knew what was really going on, or some semblance of knowing better than most people. Hutch, I've taken way too much time. I hog up your podcast. I hog up your chat line. Thanks for not kicking me out. I'm sure it'll happen one of these days, but brother, you're the best.
Hey, thank you. Mark Schwartz, ladies and gentlemen. A little eccentric, but he's our guy. Thank you, sir.
A little?
Bye. All right. So, Norway, I guess we're going to have to look into some of this stuff and see. That's certainly new news to me, and I scour the wires daily. But I got to tell you, Mark has come through in the past.
Yeah, this is new news to me as well. I know the March 20th day in 2017 as the referendum date, and March 20th seems to be a special date for one reason or another for the Kurdish people. So I wouldn't discard it as impossible. And if it turns out to be, if you see this happening, March 20th, 2019, that is, like Mark said, that is huge news.
It is.
And especially if that is allowed to take place from Jerusalem, that could have a political significance in that location as well.
Like I said earlier, Mark had hooked us up with the Kurdish National Congress. I believe that was their name. The president of that organization, and he came on and gave a tremendous interview. Rocky will remember, and some of the people that have been around from the beginning. That was quite some time ago, 2011, as a matter of fact. I think is what. Well, maybe it was later than that, but it was a while ago, and it was a great interview, and we had some other subsequent interaction. So I'm looking forward to it. We'll see what happens. Marlene from Eugene. Good evening. What's going on?
Good evening. Well, first of all, I was going to say I was listening last night, and I really liked that segment about how you were talking about all the stuff that Big Mike and Barry were all the their constitutional the violations.
Yeah.
I just thought that was really interesting.
And ladies and gentlemen, what Marlene's talking about is on Sunday nights on WHBJ Digital Talk. If you want to find it on Spreaker, it's WHBJ-Delta Bravo, WHBJ-DB, a required suffix for the station call sign. So 8 p.m. it starts, and we ran 2 episodes last night, Marlene. There weren't that many people that listened to it, but
I listened to the whole thing.
Wow,
those were great.
They were pretty good. I was
yeah.
We were putting out a quality product. Not as it wasn't as smooth as it is now, but it was close.
Yeah. But I guess the other thing I was going to mention, because Norway had said something to me about, I don't know, it didn't happen tonight, but talking about how the communists have invaded our government.
Let me address that. Let me address that real quick right now, because I knew this was going to happen. I saw it at noon. I knew this was going to happen at noon. You know, and I was trying to figure out how to do it, and I think. Notwithstanding what I said to Norway before the show, forget all that. I think for that subject matter, Norway, we do need to, there's so many details in the state and local governments and organizations and agencies and media that we really do need to spend an hour at least on that subject matter. And I did contact Trevor Loudon, and he did not respond to me.
Okay,
I can redo that again, because I do not want to let this subject go with 5 minutes of talk.
No, absolutely. I agree, and I can contact Trevor. I'm sure he's willing to come on. He's a very busy guy, and
it was late. It was late when I sent the inquiry, and it was after I got your message when I was at Camp Vienna. But that computer, and I don't like making excuses. This is what really happened. That computer has a bootleg copy, not a bootleg copy. It has a basically feature-free copy of MS Word, and that's what I use for all my documents. And it wouldn't allow me to copy and paste anything because it was a free trial. So I had to wait until I got home yesterday, and then I contacted him, and I started thinking about the letter. I got to go pull it back up. I might have missed putting what time slot it was. It was a rush job, is my point. But not to be forgotten. I want to get that.
But I can always contact Trevor there, and I'm sure
so can I. I got him on.
You should, by the way, you should switch to Open Document. I mean, it's free, and you can use it on all your applications, and it's twice as good as that.
Inside baseball, ladies and gentlemen. Let's go back to Marlene. Go ahead.
Okay. Well, anyway, I'll try to be kind of brief on this. But anyway, Norway, when I were talking about that, and I mentioned I'm still reading it, but the book that talks about how back in the, I think right around, basically World War II, and then shortly after, kind of the beginning of the Cold War, you know, about how all these crazy, all these people were in FDR's administration. And the more I read this book, I'm like, my God, we had so many blasted communists in our government back then.
You want to get more scared?
They didn't really care.
You want to get more scared than that? Go before World War II. And look during World War I when the Russians murdered Americans.
Yeah, I got to go back, but I had to start someplace.
Oh, excellent job. And I'll tell you, Marlene, and this goes for the rest of the audience. When you look, and this is one of the reasons I created this show, is because I'll never forget it. I wrote an article for the newspaper, and they published it, about Bill Clinton when he came to office, and all of a sudden, you know, this was after George H.W. Bush's pretend collapsing of the Soviet Empire, and I mean, it was nice and all that, but it was not the end of the Cold War. And Bill Clinton was making this big, giant push for spending the Cold War dividend. In other words, taking all the money that we were putting in to keeping the Western world free so to speak, and spending it on, I don't know, reparations or roads or so. I don't know what he wanted to spend it on, but he was going to give it all away.
Well, they were doing it back then, too. I mean, they were giving it to the Russians, and they had all these people in there giving advice. They were pulling strings, and it wasn't just Russia. It was communist China because they didn't like Chiang Kai, what's his face? And they liked Mao better. Yeah, they liked Mao better. They thought he was wonderful. In fact, there was even I just got to reading this last night. They even had a kind of a plot to murder the guy. He didn't get murdered then, but they had plots going. These communists were going around thinking, well, gee, we don't like him anymore. He was great for a while, but we don't like him. Let's kill him.
Who, Mao?
I'm like, okay.
Yeah.
No, Chiang Kai-shek.
Oh, Chiang Kai-shek. All right. And we supported both of them. Let's be honest.
I know we did.
Chiang Kai-shek was an important ally of the United States during the fight against the Japanese. So,
sure.
I mean, I know that if it wasn't for the weak U.S. government, FDR and those boys, Chiang Kai-shek would probably have gotten much more support against Mao, and China might not have been communist today. But history would want it otherwise. And I mean, there goes a very important historical lesson because we see the same thing happening today with the U.S. Congress. I mean, the U.S. Congress is. I mean, they're the best friends of the Communist Party USA, the Democratic Party included.
Exactly. I mean, you look at some of the things that are being said, and man, I wish I could remember exactly who tweeted this. It was either Jim Jordan or Mark Meadows. It was somebody who I respect, and they were talking about Omar Ilwan, and they said, why would Minnesota allow this seriously liberal congresswoman stand at the Foreign Affairs Committee? And I had to retweet that. I said, seriously liberal? How about anti-American terrorist supporter?
No kidding.
This use of the word liberal. Any Republican, and ladies and gentlemen, I know I've given you, I don't want to say directives because that's not the way I am, except for my employees. Just kidding. But don't use the words that they use to mask their evil. And you know what? We're going to come up with a list of words that if we don't stop using them, we're going to lose. Progressive is one of them. Liberal's another one. Abortion's another one. Gay's another one. I mean, it goes on and on and on. They have bastardized the English language and the American culture to the point. Now think about this for a second. We're running out of time, Marlene, but I'm going to run something past you.
Okay.
For hundreds, at least 2 years, 200 years, for years, American entertainment used blackface as a prop for entertainment. And now we're going to fire a governor because 30 years ago he had it in his yearbook? Think about that.
I know. Like,
how much damage did that do? None.
Not really. No.
And
it didn't then, but now they're making a big deal out of it now.
It's going to blow up in their face. It's blowing up in their face, left and right.
It should.
Thanks for calling, Marlene. Have a great week.
You're welcome.
Marlene, before you hang up, I would just say that I have a lot of favorite listeners, but you are fast becoming my very favorite listener because you're doing.
Even wasn't Rocky. You like Rocky better. Just kidding.
You're doing exactly what we're hoping all our listeners would do. Namely, you go out there and you educate yourself, you read books, you learn, and you spread your knowledge. And I would ask you, if you please, when you hang up, could you please share the link to where people can buy that book you're reading now in the chat room?
I can just tell you right now, these are on Amazon, but I will I'll put the titles in the chat. There's that
Excellent.
one, and then I'm also reading another one. It's called The Killing of Uncle Sam, and I'll put that in there too.
Excellent. Thank you, Marlene.
You're welcome, Norway.
All right,
Bye.
ladies and gentlemen, Marlene from Oregon, a very loyal listener. Everybody else should be like Marlene.
Yeah, she's a patron as well.
Absolutely,
a patron and
that upped her game a couple 3 times.
Yeah, there you go, and an avid reader and a self what do you call that? Autodidact, I think is the fancy word for a self-thought expert on history, and
go.
she becomes that by putting in the hours reading and learning and spreading her knowledge. I absolutely love it.
I remember when I used to read. It was fun, but now if I crack a book open, good night. Just cover me up. I gotta like take my shoes off and put a blanket on because within a couple pages I'm done. I love to read, but man, life is fast these days. I'll tell you, just like the show, man. I mean, wow, you talk about quick. It went right now.
Yeah.
You know?
We're at the end of the road practically, and you're absolutely right. I am actually relieved that you want to do that communist story at a later point. Hopefully, we can get Trevor Loudon on. He's a great guy. We did an interview with him on Cold War Radio 561. Titled "Enemies Within Communists, Socialists, and Progressives."
I think one of the reasons that it failed it was such short notice. I think that's probably what it was. So we should probably think about that. But anyway, Norway, great show. Final comments and how can people get in touch with you?
It was a great show, and I think that my final comment. It must be that you need to be the activist voice. Let your voice be heard. I mean, support President Trump and go to steelcityresistance.com and get the contact information to people in Congress. For every phone call or letter you write, there are hundreds of thousands, millions even, that don't write and thus are never heard. That is why your phone call or letter is so very, very important. I am at Norway for Trump on Twitter, Gab, and Facebook, and that's Norway4 with a number 4.
Thank you, Norway. Another great Monday Sentinel as usual. I'm Hutch Bailey Jr. I want to thank everybody for listening live. And thank you to those listening to the podcast as well. Please check out WHBJ. Tuesdays, Thursdays, Saturdays, Sunday. Who knows? It might expand to 7 to 24/7 one day. But anyway, search for that, bookmark it, check it out. I'm Hutch Bailey Jr. On all social media realms. We'll be back on Wednesday with the Wednesday briefing with Jack from the mountain, and an upcoming episode very shortly about the communist infiltration into the United States and all agencies and all Bill Peduto in Pittsburgh levels of government. Thanks for letting us into your life for a couple hours. Ladies and gentlemen, please share the show. God bless. Jacob Seals, The American Dream. The American Dreamer.